Dad. All right, welcome to the SaintsCityMe, a podcast dedicated to sending audio love letters to the Northern Saints and the city. Tonight, we're thrilled to host a special guest who had played a pivotal role in spreading international fanfare for our beloved team. As one of the original members of Dome Patrol UK and now a key contributor to the Dome Patrol podcast in the US, our guest has been instrumental in uniting fans across the globe. Moreover, for those fortunate enough to attend the unforgettable Saints party in the 9th Ward back in October 2022, none of it would have been possible without the incredible organisational efforts of our guest. And our guest tonight is Mr. James Baker. James, how the devil are you?
Oh, Mike, Dan, I'm great actually, mate. Great, long time listener, first time contributor.
Yes, it's lovely to have you on.
Good to have you on. Good to see you.
Yeah, no. It's great to talk to you both.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. As I said in the intro, you're one of the originators. For me, when I started to heavily get into it and need as much information, and I think we've spoken about it, and many other people have said it before. You always thought you were the only Saints fan in the UK.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Twitter sort of came to the fore. Found a few people on there, but then you were horribly instrumental in bringing fans together because you set up a Saints WhatsApp group.
For my sins.
Which over the years there have been some sins, but that was instrumental, especially for my first visit going over there, because obviously there were people in there who'd had experience of going over, and they just had a few tips and tricks, and just gave me a few ideas of what I should look to do when I went over there. So for me, it was instrumental, and obviously from that group. I don't think we're going to go into Dan's backstory in a group because that'll bring up somebody who gets a bit of grief in the WhatsApp group quite a lot.
No.
We can cover it if you want.
I'm trying to. I'm happy to because it doesn't involve me.
Look, I left the WhatsApp group before I realised you could mute WhatsApp groups or put do not disturb on your phone, because when I was first in there, and to Mike's point, James set that up I want to say it
was the week before the Rams game.
It was run up to the NFC Championship game, and there was a number of us who were in that group who were going to the game. So it was great because you were seeing people, and I remember I was posting. I think Ross Sutherland, the Scottish one of the Scottish Saints fans, was in there. He was on my flight, and we was all like back and forth and sharing stuff. It was really like a real community spirit off the bat before we'd even got going. Didn't even know anyone in that group. Then it got into the season when it was people were live chatting during games, and I didn't know how to mute it. So I fell out with someone in there because I'm prone to doing that from time to time. And I left, and I haven't come back just because I'm a bit embarrassed, even though it's been 3 or 4 years.
To be fair, Dan, you were probably one of the first 3 people into the group when I set it up.
Yeah.
So, and even now, I take the piss out of the person who caused you to leave by saying that it's his fault that a lot of people who were OG UK Saints fans left the group. So I still take and Michael confirmed that I still take the piss out of him for it.
And there have been a couple of other people who have probably left the group due to, should I say, misunderstandings? I should, but I won't.
But do you know what?
He's calmed down a lot.
He has.
I met him at 9th Ward. Lovely guy. But he said about us picking up, it might have been after I left the group, he said about us picking up Jameis Winston, and we ended up picking up Jameis Winston. So he was obviously had a bit of nous to see that one as a potential.
That came, and this is the God's honest truth. He came over to Chester because he lives not far away from me. And we met up on a Saturday night to have a few beers in town. And we were just talking. And he says, I think the Saints are going to sign Jameis Winston to back up Drew Brees. I was like, no chance. There's absolutely no chance that's going to happen. And then literally 3 weeks later, there it is. And now, we all love Jameis. And I think we're all gutted that he's no longer on the team.
Yeah. As an individual, what that man brought to the team, the city, the fan base was incredible. You even saw it, didn't you, after the season when it was obvious that he wasn't going to be with the organisation, was still out there loving the city and loving the people of the city during Mardi Gras and a load of other sort of cultural events that have gone on since. So yeah, a real loss for the city, I'd say.
When you think about James's contribution on the field, like you think about that first year, it was basically that pass in the playoffs against the Bucks, and then like them 6 games, and he got injured. So 7 games of note, and people have just embraced him just because of who he is as a person.
Yeah,
massive impact on the team.
You forget that he was 5-2 as a starter when he got injured. Peyton had him playing right. He wasn't letting him loose, but he was managing the games, and we were 5-2.
Well, you remember the Packers game? Jesus Christ, we absolutely spanked them.
I wouldn't have bought a Jameis Winston jersey after that game. The H-gate, I would have been, but
did he have? Wasn't it something ridiculous though? He had 4 or 5 touchdowns for about 160 yards though. So it was proof of what you're saying, James. He was being horribly efficient. It wasn't the gunslinging, throw it down the field. He was being efficient, and Hey, look, that unfortunately that's in the past, and we never really got an opportunity to see him have a sustained amount of games, and maybe it could have been different, but for a number of reasons, he's now going to be off the team. So thank you, James.
That's one of the most frustrating things about the Vikings game in London is that the Saints, first time they've come over since 2017, Alvin Kamara was injured, Michael Thomas was injured, and we started Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
So we'd waited 5 years to see the Saints in London, and all right, I know it was injuries and things like that. You can't help it, but it was still a little bit. Because you think back to 2017, that was Kamara's rookie season. Michael Thomas was at his peak. Drew Brees was his peak. We beat the Dolphins 20-0 for crying out loud.
I think Adrian Peterson got like 4 touches in that game or something stupid.
He did,
and he was the big marquee off-season signing, and Kamara just took over.
Also, that game in 2017, that sort of set them on the way to having a really good season that year as well, wasn't it? I think that was a catalyst for them to start.
Ken Crawley interception, that was the thing that started it.
Because they were on they did a full length of the field drive to open the game, didn't they? And then he did the interception in the corner, and then the Dolphins never got within field goal range after that.
I don't think I've ever been to a sports event where I've crowed as much in a game as I had my shirt to all the Dolphins fans behind me. I was doing all this because I think Ali sat in front of me at London, and Elliot sat in the row as well. So there was a number of Saints. I didn't know each other, but there's a number of Saints fans around us, and I was really enjoying it. Really, that was such a great game. Really was.
Yeah. And you know what you're saying about crowing when they win? That's the gutting thing about the Saints is in 2018. Can you imagine what Twitter would have been like if we'd have won the Super Bowl that year? I mean, I think every Saints fan's been waiting, but the Saints fans the Saints Twitter is amazing, right? Could you imagine what it would have been like had they have won the Super Bowl that year?
Oh.
Yeah. Dan says he was crowing. That there would have been a new word invented for what Saints fans would have been doing on Twitter, no doubt. And that's the ones over here. I'm not even including America in that. But halcyon days. Maybe in a couple of years' time we'll get back to that. But I suppose we ought to then, as we're talking about Saints, talk about current Saints and the situation. So James, what are your thoughts so far on what's been happening sort of in the off season so far, free agency and all that good stuff?
Well, it's bargain bin shopping, isn't it? Let's be honest. I like the linebacker. He's a good sign.
Yeah.
But it's only a 1-year deal.
Yeah. It's almost a prove it deal, isn't it?
It is. But the rest, I'm not even going to talk about the quarterback we signed because that is the quarterback you sign if you don't want there to be a quarterback controversy this season.
Yeah.
That's it. You've got to hope that Jake Hayner beats him out.
Yeah, I think we all hope that. I mean, it literally, I had a couple of notes when he got signed, and literally for me it was journeyman. My next line was who gives a fuck. It was obviously a car request. But the one thing that I would say, the one thing that I'm actually okay with. And look, the bottom line is we know there's not going to be a QB controversy this year. We know who's going to be our QB. Whether people like it or not, he's going to be our QB. We've got a new offensive coordinator. So let's see what they can come up with. But also the thing that I'm really pleased about is that we're not going to be wasting fairly large amounts of money on backups because we haven't got that money to waste. So look,
it wouldn't surprise if he's on a veteran league minimum salary.
He is. He's on the minimum. Yeah. So from that point of view, we know who our QB1 is. Depending, not even depending, I think a majority of the Saints fan base don't think we're going to do too much with Carr behind there. But I'm waiting to see rather than judging it before we've even gone into OTAs, let alone anything else. But I'm just pleased that we're not going to be spending whatever it is, 6 million, 8 million on a backup QB because we simply need that money elsewhere.
Yeah, we do. We do. And on the Derek Carr thing, I think the last 5 weeks of the season, he was top 3 quarterback in the league. So you've seen what he can do. So you've just kind of got to hope that that's how we start the season. And I think what coincided with that working so well was they sorted out the offensive line. The offensive line for the last 5 weeks got sorted. It was consistent. It was playing well. Give Carr time and he will do the job. If he's under pressure, you've seen what happens when he's under pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And that's the other thing. It's like some of the, it's not only the offensive coordinator, it's some of the changes that they've made within the sort of the staff within his team. They seem to be, the run and the O-line are two things that they're obviously having to concentrate on. Now, look, personnel is a different issue, and we don't know what the personnel is going to look like at the moment. Everybody was clamoring for Pete to be re-signed, but at the moment that's not happening. So we need to see what personnel we have there.
It doesn't look he's got a market though, because
no.
As a left tackle, and left tackles are a premium, and no one's picked him up yet, so he might come back. I mean, I can spin. So I've been playing incredibly annoying devil's advocate in the Saints Block Party Discord just because I enjoy the chaos. But so one of the things I've said is around the backup. I was like, well, one, he spent the season with the new QB coordinator, so maybe he was involved in it.
There were
in Chicago, So Janico, whatever his name is.
Janico, he spent 2 years with him, Yeah.
And then he was obviously backing up Derek Carr. And do you know what? I don't really want to see my backup QB on the field. So if he's going to do his job as a backup QB and just help Derek Carr look at the plays afterwards and go, this is what you did wrong, because they can communicate, then I can sort of get comfortable with it on a league minimum, because that's what Jake Haener was for, right? Jake Haener he knows Derek. They got a relationship. It's all about placating Derek Carr. But I don't want him to see the field, and I'm not going to lose sleep over it. If he starts, then fuck me, we're in trouble. But just roll with it. As you say, try and keep that money on the field by being able to use it to bring in players, which we haven't really done. Let's be honest. Free agency, as we just look like we're impotent at the moment in free agency. Willie Gay, I agree with James. I think he's a good signing, good depth at linebacker. Yeah. He might even end up starting ahead of Pete Werner if Pete Werner doesn't.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
It was a year ago.
What does that mean for Werner? Because obviously, I think he was a bit of major disappointment is probably too strong a term, but he was a disappointment last year.
He didn't step up the way we expected him to step up, I think, is the key. I think we was all expecting him to reach the Mario levels. Didn't quite happen. Jay might be a potential replacement.
I think he's been signed to replace Pete Werner.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised about that.
I think he will start and Pete Werner will be the guy that comes in when they go to the proper 4-3.
Yeah, he's a free agent next year as well. Is that his 4 years, Pete Werner? He's done 4
years.
Yeah.
But there's I think that's part of it, isn't it? It's almost like it's a competition for one or the other to beat the other one out, because then they've both got the chance of getting a half decent contract next year, because obviously, as you're saying, Werner's time will, he'll be at that point.
I think this is DeMario's last year anyway. I know he signed a 2-year deal, but I think that was just to clear cap space. I think he might. This might be
I
his
think
last
he
year.
wants to play for another couple of years. Yeah.
He said in an interview, didn't he, that he'd sort of like to get, even though he said he takes it year by year and he listens to his body. I'm sure in an interview he put it out there that the age of 40 was a target for him.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I haven't seen that interview. Okay.
Yeah. That was quite a while ago, and even though he does say he listens to his body, that's what he said.
I'm not sure I want a 40-year-old middle linebacker though.
Yeah, it's
no. Hey, look.
He's been. I'd go so far as to say the second best free agent signing in Saints history.
Yeah.
Obviously, we all know number one is.
He's not going to be number one. We know that.
We all know
I think
I think
the majority
might be another one.
think that.
Jabari. I think Drew DeMario and Jabari probably top 3. There was another name someone threw out recently, and I was like, "Oh, that's a tough one." But I think those 3 are definitely up there.
I think
obviously Drew's a miles away, but DeMario's been.
But it's the number of years of service that when you think about when DeMario came to us, he would have been in his 30s anyway, or coming towards his 30s. And the fact that he's come to us, and I think since he's come to us, he's gone to 5 Pro Bowls, all that good stuff. And it's like almost like the longevity of a man in his 30s and being able to perform.
Yeah.
Even though people who are more technically versed in the game say, oh, they can see a little bit of a misstep here and there, but he's still playing at a superb high level.
They've changed his game a bit more because I think they're asking him to rush the QB a lot more than when he first came, and I think it's evident in that he's had an increase in sacks over the years and in QB hits. I mean, we think somebody who was verging on being a journeyman before he joined the Saints. He bounced around from the Jets to the Browns, back to the Jets. I think there might be another team in there somewhere. And then he's just really put down roots back. I say back home. He's from the South. He's from Mississippi originally. He's been. You think you do wonder if he'd had that kind of performance or been with us for his whole career, where he'd been. I think he verges on a Hall of Famer, but he'd probably be an absolute shoo-in if he'd had this throughout his career with us the whole time.
Yeah, no,
just a phenomenal player.
He like Mike, you said, everybody thought at the start of last season that he was taking a step backwards and he wasn't as good as he was. But the way he ended the season, he was as good as he's always been. And Dan, to your point, he does rush the passer more now than he did then. Because he's just got this ability to see where the gap is in the offensive line. And when he goes, he's like a bullet that goes right through.
Yeah.
Some of his sacks have been absolutely
I would say they probably, in my time of my more focused fan, I would say him and Quan Alexander are my favourite linebacker pairing we've had. Because that season, 2 seasons they were together, it was almost like the linebacker equivalent of Kamara and Ingram. The way they were it was like a boom and zoom type thing. Alexander was so quick. Yeah, he missed on times because he was a bit too quick and loose. But DeMario was there alongside him, and they've just I was gutted when Quan went because I thought they were a really good pairing.
So Jason says quite often that during timeouts and stuff like that, Quan Alexander was always the one who was on the bench firing the crowd up and getting the crowd into it, and winding the team up. A bit like Chauncey did in the years he was he was with us. You kind of, and especially in New Orleans, you need somebody that's going to do that, I think. And the Saints always seem to have that one player because Ingram was always good at it. I mean, you can argue about him as a running back. Was he as good as he should have been and all that kind of thing? I've got my opinion. He's probably not as good as people think he was. He was still good, but I don't think he was as good as people think he was. But those types of players always get the crowd into it, and you from experience, when that place gets rocking, the other team haven't got a chance.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we've got limited experience of being over there in recent years, but that's the one thing I sort of miss is that because all the games that I've been to recently, it just doesn't at the moment doesn't feel the same, and we're all aware why. We all know why, and the atmosphere is just not what it was, even 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And, for anybody, when we went over earlier, last year and a few guys went for the first time, even though it's a wonderful experience, there's a little part of me which is like, but you need to see it when it's, you need to see that because it hairs on the back of your neck, everything. It's incredible.
I've been once. I've watched one game in the Dome, and that was 2017. It was against the Falcons on Christmas Eve. Marshawn Lattimore interception with his arse.
Yeah,
I was there for that game, and that what you're saying about hairs on the back of the neck standing up. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it now.
Yeah,
it is and I've been to watch sports in all kinds of stadiums around America, Europe, all over the place. There's only one experience that I can put coming close to that, and that was I was at Old Trafford for Wayne Rooney's debut for United.
Oh, the hat trick.
I was there for that.
Yeah.
That's the only one that comes close, and and that's second to go into the Dome and watching a game because that was peak Saints. They won the division that day. They beat the Falcons. Unbelievable, goosebumps just talking about it. It's incredible.
Yeah. But hey, look, at some point it will come back.
On that Wayne Rooney, what's the word I'm looking for? So the day after that game, I was going to see a recording of Tim Lovejoy and the All Stars. Remember Tim Lovejoy and the All Stars? It was the thing he did after Soccer AM.
Yeah.
Manny from the Stone Roses was on it that night, and I was waiting outside. There's only me and two other people outside. Then Manny walks down to go in, and you think this is like a Stone Roses massive UK band. Like for anyone who's not familiar, he was bouncing off the walls about that Wayne Rooney friend. And this is a guy who's played in front of hundreds of thousands of people in one of the biggest UK bands of the 90s. And he was like a giddy schoolboy talking about that Rooney debut. So I know I'm not talking about the Saints, but to James's point, those kind of moments in sports come along infrequently, and they impact everyone. Doesn't matter how prestigious you are.
But something, you think, and yet again, you're talking about the impact of sports, and you're talking about people who have played to 100,000 people and stuff. Like someone close to your heart, and I know there's huge controversy over even mentioning this individual, but you look at the way that Taylor Swift behaves when she's at a Chiefs game, and like this is the biggest star in the world now, who plays, stadiums every night to hundreds of thousands of people. But that's what sport can do to you. It doesn't matter who you are, it can make you giddy, and that's the wonder of sport. And that's but anyway, I just wanted to get Taylor Swift in there for you, mate. I just wanted to see if you get aroused.
Not visibly, because the cameras are all up here.
We've all been to sporting events where it's done that to us, right?
Yeah.
Throughout the years of whatever games, Arsenal, Tottenham, United fans, different sports. I mean, I can think of 20 occasions where it's like, I can't believe I was there to witness that.
But
I'm sure you're the same.
Sorry, James, for years and years, you were a huge supporter of England, weren't you, internationally? So you traveled all over, didn't you, watching the English national team?
I did.
Just on what?
So the one I can think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Which stadium and what atmosphere?
So I've watched England play in Amsterdam. So in the stadium in Amsterdam, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't really remember a huge amount about the game, to be honest. But I know the stadium was nice.
I'm pleased to hear that, James.
Yeah. Paris, I've been to see him play in the Stade de France. I've been to see him play in the Millennium Stadium. So I was an England fan in the Millennium Stadium with 60,000 Welshmen. That was interesting.
Not a good place to be.
The best atmosphere, although it was the worst stadium, was Croatia away. Do you remember in 2007, maybe? England lost 2-0. Gary Neville scored an own goal, bobbled over Paul Robinson's foot. It was that game.
I remember that.
The noise that they made in that stadium that night when they beat England was unbelievable. I mean, what was it, 30,000 people probably in that stadium in Croatia?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Was that the time when people didn't really know about Modric and Chorluka and players like that, and they just announced themselves and was like, who are these players? Because we just, as an England team, we were like somewhat arrogant about our how we thought we'd perform against Eastern European countries, forgetting that they were all basically derivatives of that great Yugoslavian slide.
Yeah.
I remember. I was just, I know it's not Saints, but I would say that one of the things I remember as a Tottenham fan was when Gareth Bale obviously did it again in the San Siro when we lost.
Yes.
But then he did it again. I was at that game when he did it again, and that was just like
there was Maicon. It's not often, was Maicon the right back?
Maicon was the right back. Yeah, and it's not often you can go to a game and you can say, I was at a game when someone announced themselves to the international stage and said, here I am. And I suppose you get that in the NFL and other sports, but like to your Rooney point, James, it's like being at a game when someone says, this is me, look what, and you just, the excitement and the anticipation of what's ahead. Obviously, more happier days for United with Rooney than Tottenham with Bale, but to that point, it's like when you see a superstar announce themselves on the stage, it's just to say you was there is quite something. I think.
I'm trying to wrap my brain as to whether I have a. I was there when Wayne Faraday made his debut for QPR. Yeah.
Was that when QPR?
Sure, that means that.
Yeah, that's when they had that.
Stan Bowles' debut.
Oh my! No, fuck you. I'm not that old. Look, I look a little bit younger because I've shaved that massive beard off. But no, I was there when Cesc Fabregas made his debut. That's the nearest I can get to it.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, but anyway,
the only other England story. Yeah, the only other England story I've got was, do you remember when England played Argentina in a friendly in Geneva, and England won 3-2 with Michael Owen scoring a last-minute winner? I was there at that game, and that is quite possibly the most horrible atmosphere I've ever been in, because the stadium was 50-50.
Yeah,
England, Argentina, and there were Argentina fans in the England end, England fans in the Argentina end. It was going off around the stadium. And then Michael Owen scores 2 goals in injury time to win. And everybody says limbs everywhere or limbs all over the shop.
Yeah.
There's a video on YouTube of the BBC coverage of me and my mate on the camera, and I'm throwing him up in the air. It's absolutely insane.
It's one of those things. Funny, it's like, I know we're going slightly off topic, but literally that's what this pod does anyway. It's Argentinian fans always amaze me, because it doesn't matter. Like, obviously that was a friendly that you went to, but obviously in the World Cups, it doesn't matter which country that they're in. I remember, I wasn't there, but I remember when England played Argentina in '98 in the World Cup. And obviously before the game, you're thinking, England fans, we're going to be absolutely everywhere. And no, it was probably more Argentinian fans in that stadium than there were England. They travel incredibly, and I have huge respect, for them, because it doesn't matter which tournament they're in, they'll always outnumber the team that they're playing. That's incredible dedication.
To bring it back to NFL, it's like some of our American friends, like other than maybe the Raiders and the Eagles, like they can't even imagine like what would happen if you set up a Premier League stadium the way the NFL stadiums are, and it's like carte blanche, free for all, sit wherever you want. It would just be riots, wouldn't it? If you tried to do it in the Premier League, imagine that like the Falcons Saints can sit together. You imagine that at like Liverpool, Man United, or Tottenham Arsenal. You'd have the game would be abandoned.
Can you imagine Rangers Celtic with that? That would be a disaster.
The whole idea of segregation and things like that just doesn't exist in American fan culture, does it? You've been to watch games in America and things like that. The fans act very differently in America to their sport to how we do, and Europeans and South Americans do. It's coming into the MLS a little bit more, I think. A little bit more, but they're not quite. They're not quite where it should be, And you were mentioning Argentinians. It's my bucket list to go and watch a game of football in Argentina, because it just looks unbelievable.
Is it the River Plate
Boca Juniors? That's got to be the one.
River Plate Boca Juniors.
Yeah.
I
probably, I can't remember who it was, but it was someone famous, and I think it was a form of documentary, and that was one of the places that they went to watch that game. And it was just staggering to watch, And I remember when you see the clips of Maradona when he was unfortunately at his bloated worst, but he was Boca Juniors, wasn't he? And
he was.
You used to see so many clips of him at that game, and I wouldn't go near that fella because he looked like he would rip your bollocks off
Coked off his tits, mate.
Coked off his tits, and quite, might have ripped them off and had a
I was just going to say, Boca Juniors kit, like 1998, 97, one of the most beautiful kits I've ever seen.
The blue and yellow,
that light blue iconic. With the yellow, just wave. It's such a lovely jersey, kit, shirt, whichever continent you're on. One of those words will resonate.
Yeah. And by the way, for anybody in America who listens to this, we were just talking about soccer there.
not football. Football.
Always good to clarify that when you're talking to people from over the pond.
Yeah. We absolutely have to. Anyway, we stand. Was it Stanley Morgan? Is he one of Piers Morgan's sons, or?
The current joke is he's a banker, but I don't have to spell that wrong. He's from New Orleans. He went to
he went to Orleans. Yeah. But apparently he's a pretty decent special teamer. But he's a depth piece, if anything.
So he's been the Bengals gunner for the last 3 years. We seem to be like Isaac Yidam's gone. He's signed for the 49ers. Yeah, these are all, other than JT Gray, which seems to be hemorrhaging our special teamers, Zach Bond, all these players, Lynn Bowden, they're all people who potentially would have been gunners. You don't really want Taysom, although I think Taysom's going to get traded, if I'm honest, but I'll just say that. I think they're going to trade him.
James, what are your thoughts on that?
I think this new offensive coordinator can find a proper role for him, because since Peyton's gone, he's not Peyton. Peyton, I don't think used him properly either, to be honest, to the best of his abilities. But I think this guy, because I'm not saying he's Christian McCaffrey, right? I'm not saying that. That's Alvin Kamara. No. That's the role that Kamara is going to do. But seeing what he does with Deebo Samuel, or what he did with Deebo Samuel and other people like that, or not him, but being in that offense that did that, Taysom Hill can be a mismatch wherever you put him.
Yeah.
You put him in the slot, he's a mismatch for a linebacker. You put him at fullback, he's a mismatch. Tight end, he's a mismatch.
We sort of used him like as a break the glass, haven't we? It's like, shit, it's not working. Chuck Taysom in. He balls out.
But then,
look at Taysom, and they don't use him the next
time. I think it's one of the things I listen to the Don't Patrol podcast. It's one of the horrors. It's like you can literally recite what James is going to say when they talk about Taysom and not using him correctly, is that he gets, when you need 7 yards, he'll get you 7 yards. And the Saints, it's on second down, we need 7 yards, Taysom's not in the game. And it is literally that's basically, that should be his nickname, is 7-yard Hill, because that's what he will get you.
That's what he averages.
Exactly. And for them, and yet again, you sort of onto the points that you were sort of making, that it's almost that break the glass. It's like, and Pete Carmichael, there were some games where the game before he'd have a stellar contribution. He'd be like, and everyone loves Taysom. I think every Saints fan loves Taysom. And then the following game, he'd literally get 3 snaps, and you're like, what are we doing? I have no idea what the sense there is, what they're thinking. So I think with the new OC, hopefully he has some input into obviously he will want input into the personnel. And I think if you've got Taysom Hill already on your roster, then you probably try and do what you can to keep him on there.
See, I think he could use him like, I'm going to absolutely bastard his name. Juszczyk. Use him like Kyle Juszczyk. Yeah, you could use him like Kyle Juszczyk perfectly. Like, Taysom would be able to do all the stuff that Juszczyk does. The reason I'm worried is they haven't touched his contract, and he's the only one. Yeah. Him and AK are the only ones. That's the only reason I'm worried they might trade him. And they've got nothing between 3rd and 4th in terms of picks. I just don't want them to get. And I've seen a couple of things from people who've got some contacts who said, I think there might be some trades coming. The only 2 players that jump to mind are him and Lattimore, and I don't want to lose either of them personally. But
yeah,
I think Lattimore's more likely to be traded.
Yeah.
I mean, what they've done to his contract literally sets up a trade.
Yeah.
I don't have a massive problem with trading him. My issue is you've got to get the right compensation back. It's no good trading him for like a bag of peanuts. You've got to be pushing for. I'm not even asking for a first rounder, like a couple of seconds, couple of thirds, just to stack us. Yeah. Just something to fill out the draft a little bit.
Exactly, and how he. But I don't know if Harry Rosen will come in because yet again, and this is we'll yet again go off the Saints, but we're obviously bemoaning what we're doing in free agency at the moment. But there are a couple of teams, and there are a few, but the Eagles are another one where just what they've been doing in the last couple of days, and you just look at what they're doing to their roster, and it's like, okay, and they've got 9 picks and whatever. And I hate to say it, but the Falcons are actually seem to be building something there.
Yeah,
that really nice. That will pain us all. But they seem, and yet again, I know, Terry was getting a bit of grief from Falcons fans, but there, yet again, there was obviously some form of we need to get to a certain point. They've got cap available. But yeah, they seem to be getting it right.
As a Saints fan, I was absolutely over the moon that they gave Kirk Cousins a 4-year, $180 million contract. He's 35, coming off a torn Achilles.
Yep.
Vikings fans aren't that upset that he's left.
That's a very fair point. No one's burning effigies about them not trying to re-sign him.
No. But then yet again, I think that's a lot of that would have been from a financial point of view, because I think everybody was amazed when he got that contract from the Falcons.
They are going to move up. They're going to use that pick they've just traded, and they're going to move into the top 3. I'm 100% sure of it. They're going to make another
Vikings.
move.
You mean?
They're going to package. Yeah. I think the Vikings. I think they're going to package those 2 first they've got, and they're going to move up.
Yeah,
and they're going to get to. And the Patriots will move back because the Patriots are the Patriots. Someone will move back, and they'll get what they want. And the other thing, and I've said it before, it's like about Drew Brees, and I've said, I think. Mike Thomas extended Drew's career a little bit because some of those balls that he might have not. But how do we not know that Justin Jefferson didn't make Kirk Cousins look better than he was? TJ Hockenson didn't make Kirk Cousins. I don't know the answer, and I know a lot of people we're friends with saying he's now the best QB in the NFC South, and he might be this season. We'll see that Achilles heals up, but there could be a drop off, and then they're stuck with him for 4 years on that contract.
Oh no!
Baker's again in the division.
But the thing about it's like I'm not saying that Kirk Cousins is a world beater, absolutely not. But from a stats point,
he's better than Desmond Ridder.
Well,
and
hasn't he just gone to? He's just gone to the Cardinals, hasn't he, Ridder?
He has,
But then obviously that's part of where I was like the Falcons seem to be doing it right because what they got in return. But the look. Kirk Cousins were, if you're going to name your top 10 QBs, I think a number of people would have him in their top 10 QBs. Now, obviously, we don't know how he's going to come back. We don't know what his health is going to be like. But he gives them more of a chance than you have with fucking Ridder and the other shambles they've had over the last 2 years.
I can throw either side of the fence.
No, I'm not saying I'm saying a number of people might put him
they might do. Yeah, they might do.
From a yards point of view.
I would say the NFC has made him look a better QB because the QB standard in the NFC is nowhere near as good as the AFC. Like you're talking about, you got like Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and then you're talking about Kyler Murray and Kirk Cousins after that potentially because the South is pretty.
Brock Purdy, although I'm not quite sure about him. Purdy, I still don't.
Geno Smith. Matt Stafford's probably a top 4, top 5 QB in the NFC.
Yeah, but then also Geno's now under pressure, isn't he? And a lot of people are saying they think they brought Corral in to actually replace him because he was a Pete Carroll choice. So you're right. The NFC is just a fucking graveyard.
But when you look at you can rattle off 10 QBs in the AFC that are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Out of the 16.
It's just like the
16.
It's like the NFC. Yeah. They just sat on these stellar QBs for so long, and no one thought let's get a contingency plan. And then they all retired about the same time. You're just like, fuck, where have they all gone?
but it used to be the other way around, though, didn't it? It used to be the other way around.
Yeah. Hey, look, but it's swings and roundabouts.
I said the Saints, Sean Payton, one criticism I give Sean Payton is he had a better contingency plan to replace Thomas Morstead than he did Drew Brees. And that didn't work out because they cut the bloke after 2 seasons or a season anyway. So, and then he was punting
by the way,
better than Lou Headley.
Sorry, just a very quick one, James. I'm going to disappear from the screen, but I'm getting some ice. All right, okay. I am getting some ice.
Yeah, I believe you. I
can still hear you. Carry on.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right about Peyton, though. He and you know, there's quite a few people that are publicly coming out saying now, well, actually, was it all Drew Brees rather than was it Sean Payton? Yeah. And you can make an argument that it was.
Yeah,
I think you can make a pretty strong argument that it was.
I think we probably would have had the argument a lot earlier had Brady and Belichick not split up around the same time, and people that's taken a lot of the attention. Like, was it Brady or Belichick? But I think there was definitely a conversation around whether it was Brees or Payton. Because you know, Drew Brees could on any given day. What was it? What was that stat we did last week, Mike? About he threw 15 touchdown passes to like 10 players or something, and it's like the most that
There was I think it was 7 players. Yeah, it was like name 7 players that he threw out to 15 or plus touchdowns to, which in itself was ridiculous. But the thing that I think you always get these, and obviously at the tail end, if you know, with the Belichick Brady thing, obviously Brady went away and obviously was successful thereafter, and unfortunately for Belichick, it all seemed to, well, apart from was it the first season, it all sort of fell apart. But the bottom line, it's all about timing because, you know, the Drew Brees that we had at the Saints was not the same Drew Brees that was at the Chargers. Let's be honest about that. So, that, you know, Peyton was obviously beneficial to him, but obviously he grew over time, and look, you can have that argument. But I sometimes feel sad when people start to do that, even about the Belichick Brady thing. I feel a bit sad that people try to run Belichick's record down because of what happened when Brady left. And I just think that look, there was a synergy between the pair of them and it worked. Take it for what it was. But I understand the conversation.
Brady didn't build the roster. Brady didn't. I mean, Belichick's defenses when Brady won the Super Bowl. Yeah. If you'd have given Drew Brees those defenses that Tom Brady had when he won his Super Bowls, Brees would be sat there, and the Saints would be sat there with 6 rings.
Yeah.
I've been watching the Dynasty show about the Patriots on Apple TV, and I think it's a bit of a hatchet job on Belichick because Robert Kraft does. I'm not even halfway through, but Robert Kraft does not talk about Bill Belichick with any form of affection or even recognition of what he did. Like he's even now like bitter that he dropped Drew Bledsoe, or appears bitter that he dropped Drew Bledsoe for Tom Brady. It's like that guy just won you 5-6 Super Bowls on the back of Belichick's decisions. It's like it feels like a hatchet job on Belichick. They're trying to dismantle his legacy. But one thing I will say about Drew Brees, him and LaDainian Tomlinson shared Defensive Player of the Year one year when I was at the Chargers. So it was there. It's just Chargers just.
Don't get me wrong. I wasn't saying he wasn't a player. He was just a different player when he came to us. Yeah, absolutely.
We've just got to be thankful that the Miami doctors, didn't sign off that, because he would have signed for Miami in a heartsabeat. I think had they not have I think he's even admitted it himself, hasn't he?
He's admitted it.
Yeah, and Nick Saban said recently that I should have just ignored the doctors and signed him.
Yeah.
Because who did they sign instead? Was it Donovan McNabb that they signed instead?
Was it him? Was it Dante Culpepper or someone?
Dante Culpepper. It was Dante Culpepper. Yeah. It was Culpepper.
I think Drew sort of admitted it. I think Sean Payton sort of admitted that he was majorly surprised when he eventually signed for us. But yeah, look, praise those doctors. And going back to that Dynasty program, Dan, I much prefer Dallas myself.
You're such a dick.
Only people of a certain age are going to get that reference, by the way.
Oh, you're not referencing my age. Just because I couldn't get my computer, my microphone, or my camera to work before we came on today.
Or you dick.
They've been working for years, mate. My kids are 21 and 27. Work it out yourself. Anyway, I don't know. Should we go back to football? I was saying I've got a bit of a rinse in there, but I don't really. Yeah, I've just said it now, haven't I? I think right. Obviously, you're on, James. I think we ought to ask, because obviously it was made official this week. What are your feelings on the Michael Thomas situation over the last few years? Look, see, James is quite old as well, because he can't work out how to sort his microphone or his headphones out.
Not as old as you, mate.
Did you hear the question, James? You're on mute, mate.
See if I can unmute him.
Right, I'm just going to sing a song during this part. Well, I guess it was fair. Yes, I would. What? You lied to me.
There he is. He's back. Shut the fuck up, Mike.
I was doing a singing interlude. I was just singing whilst it was.
James has saved us. James saved us.
It sounded very much like Mark Morrison.
Young person.
Was that Mark Morrison he was singing there?
That young person was trying to work out why he was on mute.
My microphone just started making funny noises. Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm devastated. I am.
Yeah.
He was on course to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver with the Saints.
Hurts to hear it. Really hurts.
He was on course. I mean, look, he was Offensive Player of the Year. He broke a record and still has that record for most catches in a season. And then since he's done that, they've added an extra game and nobody's broken it.
And it's one of the only ones that hasn't been broken since they've had the extra game. All these other ones have been broken. That one still hasn't been broken.
Yeah. And the injury. I mean, Mike, we were talking about this in the WhatsApp group a couple of weeks ago. Why was he out there in a blowout week 1 win, blocking for Traquan Smith?
Yeah.
Now you can't blame Traquan. It happens in football so many times.
Yeah, but he should never have been out there.
Put somebody else out there to block. The Saints are winning by 30 points. There's 2 minutes to go.
Marcus Callaway was on the fucking roster, wasn't he? Have him out there.
Possibly, yeah. Put
do you know what I mean? But have someone else
Jordan
out there, because
Jordan, that would have been the guy, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, that's Peyton. And that's why we loved him as our coach, because he was that petty. But it cost us Michael Thomas for 3 years, 4 years even, probably.
But also not only cost us, but I think cost him. Because he should never have been out there. Look, I think there's blame on both sides. But the bottom line is, the whole reason that this started and it spiraled out of control was because he was out there, and he should never have been out there. And obviously, we all know that then he, you know, whether he put pressure on himself or whether the organization or whether Drew did or whoever then put pressure on him to come back too soon, because obviously we wanted to get a ring for Drew. So I think there are a number of factors that go into that. I think you touched on it, James. It's just such a heartbreaker.
He didn't help himself by refusing to get surgery in COVID year 2, I think it was 2021. He refused to get surgery in January, and had he have done that, he would have been back in time for OTAs and it would have been fixed. He thought he could do it himself.
But then isn't there the argument that because actually the Saints at the time, or the Saints doctors, were sort of saying, no, you're sort of okay to play on it. Wasn't it that he went to get a second opinion? That sort of delayed it as well. But hey, look, I've already said I think there's blame during the process. I think there's blame.
I don't think you ever got that second opinion, though. I might be wrong.
No, but I'm saying that I think there's blame on both sides throughout the process. So I'm not absolving either party completely.
You guys spoke to Delvin Breaux back end of last year, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at what they did to him.
No, that's an absolutely valid point. Absolutely.
You know,
valid.
By the way, he's a lovely guy. By the way, I've spoken to him a couple of times. He is.
Yeah. Really.
I'm gutted that I've got his jersey. His jersey is in the cupboard. I've got a Delvin Breaux 40 jersey in the cupboard.
He actually reached out to us and recently and said, "Oh, you're coming over. Let me know if you want to want to meet up. It's like no other Saints player that I can think of, former player would have.
No,
that I can think of would have
Absolutely
reached out to us
not.
and said that. But it's not just them two,
yeah.
James. You got a really good point there bringing up Delvin, because Trevor Penning's toe injury was misdiagnosed.
Yep.
Mike Thomas's turf toe was misdiagnosed again. If I'm Gail Benson, I'm going into Mickey and saying, why are we? Well, she's not going to, because she's got other arrangements with the medical team. But I'm saying, why are we employing these people? And the Pelicans have the same issues as well. It's like, there's a root cause here, and it's the doctors. I read Delvin's book, and I think Sean inadvertently apologized to him later when they found out how bad the doctors had misdiagnosed him having a fucking broken leg.
Yeah,
So, I've
got that book in the bookcase there somewhere.
Yeah, but that's
Marshall Lattimore as well with his lacerated kidney.
And that's where it's like where I sort of say I'm not absolving completely both sides, but I tend to land a little bit more on the Mike Thomas side of things, because there's a history with our organization, unfortunately, and it's not just one misdiagnosis with him, it's a couple. And that it's regardless of all that, it's heartbreaking, because you're absolutely right, James. If that, like, even at this point now, if that guy stayed totally major injury free, he would already be almost
he's a shoo-in. He's a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame.
Shoo-in for it. And that's absolutely, that's a travesty for him as an individual. It's like, that I think that's the bit that sort of breaks my heart.
If you think back last 20 years, name a wide receiver who had as good a hands as Michael Thomas. Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson, and then
Calvin Johnson.
There's not many more. They've got better hands than him.
No,
he didn't drop many passes.
No.
He'd run any route they asked him to. Obviously, he didn't do the go route that often, but he would just do it, and he would come down with the ball. And he was a big body receiver. He made up for the fact that we had poor tight ends for considerable periods when he was there, other than maybe Ben Johnson in his second period with us. But Ben Watson, sorry. He was a contested catcher, and he's such a loss for the team, and that's what they're going to be chasing down now in this strut. What are you laughing at me for?
Sorry. Sorry. No, it's not good. We all get, but sorry. Anyway, crack on.
No, you throwing me off my rhythm now. You've put me off my strut.
Do you know what? Because I'm sort of, I think I know why I laugh, but then I'm trying to fact check myself and think, wasn't Ben Johnson that 80s 100-meter sprinter who got banned?
He was, but he meant Ben Watson. But he meant
no, I know who he meant, but that's why I was chuckling to myself. It's like, I'm having a little bit of fun and some jokes.
Isn't Ben Johnson the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator?
Yeah, him as well.
Maybe future Saints head coach. Maybe we'll see. Hopefully,
maybe.
Hey, maybe it'll be Clint. Let's wait and see.
Well, if Clint does his job,
it's interesting that Ben Johnson turned down. There's two stories, isn't there?
Yeah.
Turned down or wanted too much money. I mean, it depends who you're listening to, doesn't it, as to which side of the story you're on.
Yeah. I mean, you can see it both ways. You can be like, he turned it down, or he went in and said, I don't really want to coach you, so I'm just going to ask for a stupid amount of money. If they pay me, then I'll do it. It just depends which way you look at it, but we'll see. I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure if I'd want to coach the Washington Commanders, because, mind you, they're better than the Carolina Panthers right now in terms of ownership. So,
yeah, and also, but the thing about it is we don't know what their ownership's like. It's obviously going to be better than it was, but we're yet to know.
Commanders?
Yeah,
I was watching an interview with Jeffrey Wright, the actor, and he's actually grew up with the guy who owns the Commanders now, and he was quite impressive what he was saying. What they're looking, he said, like, basically, he was saying about I think Jeffrey Wright said to him, like, what are you going to do about the stadium? And he was like, forget about like the trim on the car. I'm still working on fixing the chassis at the minute. And he's like, he clearly knows there are fundamental issues the way that organization's built from ground up, and he's trying to address it.
they're one of the worst. They've been one of the worst run teams for the last 20 years. The Commanders, haven't they really have. And whilst we're on it, the Commanders, a terrible name.
Yeah, they could have come at something better.
I quite like the Washington football team. I just liked it. I thought it was just like, bang, that's what we are. But hey, look, that's not our problem.
No, it's not. No, it's not. We're more than happy with our name.
Yeah, because also you get into that, and maybe there's another team that actually could do with changing their name. But anyway, swiftly moving on. Have we finished with the Saints? Is there anything else that? Dan, stop that. Is there anything Saints related, Dan, that you want to touch on?
Yeah, but I probably shouldn't because it sounds.
Go on, let's hear it. Yeah,
I've just got a big old problem with the International Fan of the Year thing because I don't understand it. Like, no disrespect to the guy that won it. Like, fair play, you got to be in it to win it. But I just don't get it.
James, are you aware of this competition?
Well, I'm aware that somebody won a prize. I didn't know it was a competition.
Yeah, no, it's something you have to enter in order to win it. So it's from my point. I mean, I didn't enter it, but there seems to be a resounding. It's a PR exercise. I think you've got the stats
across the board.
That was it. So what are the stats about? Wherever a team has sort of international sort of affiliation, how many was it, Dan, that won it? Was it?
So 20? There was 21 teams that have got international marketing rights. All of them but 4 picked a fan from the region where their international marketing rights are based. So it's a bit like, was it ever really a fair competition, or was you always going to just pick someone from where your marketing rights are? Don't get me wrong, it's like you got to enter it and whatever. I put an entry in for me and Mike, and didn't expect to win because these things that you expect like thousands and thousands of people to go in, but it's just when you looked at it, it was like across the board. Jets fans were complaining. The guy that got one for the Jags is a bloody Chiefs fan.
Isn't he? Right? Yeah, Chiefs. Yeah, Chiefs or a Bengals fan, isn't he? Or something.
He's a Bengals fan who just dresses up for the Jags games. It's like massive ball drop on this across the board, and the guy who won for us doesn't even. The only person he follows on Twitter is the Saints. He doesn't even follow any Saints fans or players. Fair play. Look. We've all got to have a degree of I don't say arrogance, but you got to put yourself forward. You got to be like, well, I think I could win this. And fair play. Ultimately, you put yourself forward not because you think you're the best fan in the world or the team's saying. You put yourself forward because you want to go to the draft. You want to win to go to the draft.
You want the prize.
Yeah, you just want the prize. Yeah. It's not saying I believe that I'm this. It's just like, fuck it. I'd like to go to the draft for free. Yeah.
Dan, regardless of the international sort of like the PR exercise in those international markets, if they listen to, I'd say, because I think we've done about, I think this is our 29th pod. I think I'm not 100% sure, but apart from 7 of them, if they listen to the other 22, there's no way that there's any winning happening, because from a PR point of view, when you use the see you next Tuesday word, and I'm not saying you because I think I use it more often, we ain't winning bugger all. So anyway, that's what.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Yeah, but to that point, it's like the same thing for James. Like if James entered and they go and listen to Dome Patrol and hear you being critical of the team or whatever else, they're gonna be like, oh, we don't want this guy because he's criticizing. It's like criticizing a team is part of fandom.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
In votes.
No.
If you're not happy, you're going to criticize.
But also on that point, that I wasn't talking about it I was sort of joking anyway. I was joking about some of the explicit language we use. If I'm absolutely honest with us, when we're on this pod, we're not hugely critical of the Saints at all. We have opinions on them, but I don't think. Again, we sort of have this when we're in Discords, which have a lot of sort of American-based fans, whereby I think when you've watched football, soccer, and when you've seen what goes on with some of the clubs over here and like the up and down seasons you can have, or the coaches this and whatever, and the players, and I think we've got a little bit more of a balanced view about sport than maybe some people who maybe just follow American football.
I don't, James. Sorry, go on, Mike.
No, I was going to say. So I would never. I was sort of joking about that. I was talking more about the sort of jovially talking about the explicit language we sometimes use. Hey, look. If you want to give the International Fan of the Year to somebody who doesn't criticise the team, well, that's your prerogative.
But it's not, but my issue is it's not just the Saints thing, it's like across the board. It was a poorly run thing. They've got issues all over the place. And I just think if you're going to do something like that, just hand it over to the fans to make the decision.
Well, I think the biggest criticism there that I would say, if you're talking about it from a Saints perspective, is the fact that our boys, Elio and John, who have the biggest French Saints podcast, obviously the Saints are moving into that market. They weren't even aware of the competition.
How is that possible? I don't understand how that's possible.
So the Saints did not promote the competition. They didn't tweet about it. They didn't put anything on their website. They didn't do anything, and they didn't put it out on the French-speaking social media platforms they've got. So, from my point of view, I think the Saints dropped a big old bollock there because they want to build the brand in France. You've got these 4 guys who've got this great podcast who've been pumping out content since 2011 on their Twitter page. It's like, come on, man. These guys are perfect for what you're looking to do. And they are worthy winners as well. Winners.
Yeah. So on you're talking about how they treat international fans and stuff. We go back to October 2022, right?
Absolutely.
The Saints did absolutely nothing.
No.
And, so we all went to the Thursday night event with Jeff Duncan and Luke Johnson and all of those, where they organised that themselves with Mark Haley helped them set that.
That was a great event, but wasn't that NOLA.com and Mark who sorted that out?
Yes.
Jeff and Luke and Rod.
Yeah. So it was a great event, and we had a really cracking time there. But yet again, nothing to do with the organisation.
Yeah, and then obviously the event that I put on the Saturday night at 9th Ward. Obviously we had Nick Underhill, Mike Triplett, Ross Jackson, John Hendricks. Now the interesting one that turned up that night, and I don't know if you guys spoke to him. Do you follow Alex Restrepo on Twitter?
I saw you with him that night. Yeah.
So I didn't know he was coming, and it was Nick that introduced me to him, and I was having a chat to him outside, and I was like, Why have the team not done anything? Look at the amount of people that follow the Saints here. He says we realised on Wednesday when we arrived that we'd made a massive error by
they dropped the bollock, didn't they?
Not doing anything. He said just by coming along here and seeing what fans themselves have been able to put on. He said next time we come over, it will be very, very different. I mean, got to take him at face value for that. But I'd like to think that next time they come over, they're going to make a lot more. They were the home team, for crying out loud, and the Vikings did more.
I mean, the Vikings, but that mean Jesus, that used to because the Vikings had a bloody Vikings bus going.
There was a bus outside King's Cross,
Birmingham, London. Yeah. But it had travelled around the bloody country in the week leading up to the game. They had a band. I mean, this is the one that got me, is that they had a bloody band leading their fans up to the stadium on the morning of the game.
Yeah.
We're talking about New Orleans, and they had a fucking band. It's those sort of things. But going back to, and you're absolutely right, because that Saturday night, it was
such a good
night.
It was packed out. With not only with UK
9th Ward wasn't big enough.
We know that because literally we took over half the street. I think the council came over at one point to tell everyone off, and people were going up to the Tesco up the road to get extra booze because they couldn't get served. So it was a roaring success, mate. And yet again, congrats on that, bud. That was absolutely fantastic. And yet again, the amount of journalists who came out as well. And that, I think, for regardless of the fact that the Saints dropped the bollock on that, the fact that some of the local beat writers were there for fans over here especially who, if you're in the city, there's probably a good chance that you'll be walking down a street and you might bump into Mike Triplett, or you're having a coffee here, you might see Ross Jackson. For fans in the UK, you don't get that opportunity. So for all of those UK fans, and we know loads of them who chatted to Mike or Nick or Ross or John, loads of them. So it was fantastic for them to get the opportunity to just sort of rub shoulders and yet again, I said it in the intro, but absolutely fair play, mate.
They were so humble with it as well. Like Mike Triplett, I was standing next to him. He said, "Oh, hi, I'm Mike Triplett," and I was like, "Yeah, I know who you are." They just assumed that we didn't know. And I think they were taken back. And we asked Ross it when he came on the pod, like, "Was you surprised?" And he said, knowing what Saints fans are like in New Orleans, he wasn't really, because he thought if it's going to translate, it's going to translate across there. I think one thing we probably, as fans, we didn't do. I think next time we probably need to have a more coordinated comms with the team, because we was all doing things in silos trying to get their attention. Yeah. And I think actually, if we come together in the future and get, it's not key players, but the people like, obviously, James, you got contacts with Nick through your podcast. We obviously are good friends with Ross Jackson.
Yeah.
All three of us have got comms with Jeff Duncan. Maybe I tried to
coordinate
the team to do. I tried to go to the team to coordinate, and they weren't interested. But maybe the beat writers is the way forward, because they've got that.
I mean, Alex gave me his business card, so I've got so I've got email address and contact phone numbers for some. He's the social media manager of the team, so I think you're right. Next time it needs to be, because obviously Mark did his thing with Jeff on the Thursday night, then I did the thing on the Saturday night. What we need to do is we need to do something where we're all together. We get everybody in one place on the Friday night or the Saturday night or whatever it is.
Absolutely. And this is the point, and this is the great thing. Obviously, myself and Dad doing this pod. We've spoken about it before. Like, I never ever imagined that I'd ever be on a podcast. But
no, nor me.
Apart from my wife and my kids, I don't think I felt as passionate about anything else, which is that city and the football team. So, Dan sort of kept pushing me towards doing it, and and I'm so pleased that we've started it now, because one of the wonderful things for me, and I'm sure it's the same for Dan, I'm sure it's the same for you, James, is via this sort of online sort of presence, you get to meet people, you get to have contact with people who have some form of influence, and maybe even if it's just putting in a good word, or if it's and those things, and as you were saying with Alex, and like myself and Dan have had Doug on the podcast, and that was a really interesting chat, and it's just nice to have those little inroads that next time they come over, all of us can sort of get together and say, right, this is how we're going to attack it, and this is what we want from the organization, actually. Because I think as international Saints fans, I think we actually sort of deserve a little bit of something, because it's a hard slog.
I'll tell you who it's probably a good opportunity, and this is probably something we should talk about whilst we're not recording for this, actually. But the Bucks UK, they've got a great link up with the team, a really good link up with the team. How did they do it?
Yeah.
Who did you speak to? How did you get it set up? They run competitions. They get certain fans get field passes when they go over, so they're on the field before the games and stuff like that. Now, look, we don't want. That's not why we're doing it. We don't want to just get the privileged treatment of being able to go and stand on the sideline when the players are warming up in the dome. But just we stay up until fucking 5 o'clock in the morning watching games over here.
Well,
right?
Can I just point out? You stay out. No, James stays up much later than that, because
he does. He does the pods afterwards.
He then does the pod afterwards.
Yeah,
but it's not just to that point. It's not just games. We stay up for the draft.
Yeah.
Pre-season
we stay up for everything. Pre-season. I got back off holiday. Was it last year, Mike? I landed in the morning from the US. I was jet lagged as fuck, and I stayed up to watch our pre-season game at like 1 a.m. It's like, what is, and it killed me because it carried my jet lag on for like a week. So what is
Yeah.
wrong with us? But and this is the thing that sometimes people would like. It reminds me of my first visit to the Dome, and I've spoken about this on here before, where the woman next to me couldn't believe I was a Saints fan. And then she was like, well, thank you for coming to support our team. And I looked at her, I said, no, our team. Like, it's our. We're proper fans. She's like, oh, no, you're just tourists. Like, no, but it's like, you know, you have to put effort in to be an international NFL fan. You have to put real effort in. And it affects your work life and your family life and stuff.
Yeah. But then
I take days off. I take days off work for late games. So on a Monday night, Sunday night, Monday night, or Thursday night, I take the day off after. So I'm using my holiday to.
But the Brit. And this is
I was working from home, but it's
yeah. Because obviously I'm in the WhatsApp group with James, and it's like thankfully last season I think there were only. Was it 2 or 3 where it was like, oh, you might have to because
that fucking Rams game I stayed up for. Oh my god,
yeah.
Well, obviously, I think we touched on that on the pod. I didn't. Well, I was up for it, but yeah. Anyway, moving on.
It's your son's birthday,
but yeah, it was. It was his 21st birthday. But so there are only 3 games I think last year where you had to maybe think about taking a day off. I mean, God, you go back, bloody 4 years ago, and prime time we were
six games.
It was like
6 games in 1 year.
6 games. It was like, and that's fucking hard work. That's brutal.
Even the 9:15 Sunday games don't finish until 12:30.
No.
Yeah.
And then you have to put your headset on, James,
and talk about it for 40 minutes.
Yeah. So, hey, look, I think you're right. Next time, and it'll be great when they do come over again. Let's hope it's pretty soon. We'll make a coordinated effort. I think it's worthwhile.
As the away team, I hope, not home team. Away team.
Yeah. Hey, look, we don't care whether it's away or home. I think
there's enough of us now that know enough people to do something.
Yeah.
Pretty spectacular, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I even had I had ideas of like, and maybe it was just like completely fantasy, but I had like these ideas. Like I did a video of the bar and put it out, and I had this fantasy in my head. And at the time, I didn't know as many Saints fans in the UK. And in my head, I was like, I imagined sitting here with like the 3 of us, Mark Daly, a couple of other people, and having like a Saints player in here, and it being like an interview that they put out. They just didn't fucking bite on anything at all. Like you put out, they were just like, nope, not interested. It's like, come on, man. You got
radio
at the time,
science.
you had a Saints podcast. What? So yeah, obviously there was 2 Brits on the Dome Patrol at that time. So it's like you had a podcast that had British influence. You had this, you had Mike, so you had other things. They just didn't want to know. It was like crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah. Which is really weird because you do see it, when obviously with the NFL coverage over in the UK now is far wider than it was even 4 or 5 years ago. And whenever teams come over for the London games in the last few years, whether it be on Sky or whether it be on other platforms, you see the teams interacting with local fans, whether or not it is like a Q&A with a player with a few fans, or it's just I was going
to say, me and James exchanged messages actually on Twitter about it because they didn't even hold an open practice for fans.
Yeah.
The other teams were doing, they was inviting fans to watch them practice. They didn't. Me and James, I remember, I distinctly remember the conversation. It was like, we would have paid to go and watch them practice.
Absolutely.
And they didn't even offer it. It's like,
I was trying to book into their hotel.
I don't want to take anything away from some of the influencers in the UK and what they do. They serve a purpose and it's fine. But when you've got people who don't know diddly squat about the team or the sport particularly well, and they're getting to interview players and watch them practice, and you've got people who have been running a podcast for 4 or 5 years who don't even get a sniff, I just think, come on, man, think about the optics of that. Think about the perception. You're not rewarding the people who are putting the effort in to build the brand where you are. And that's what Saints UK podcast, Dome Patrol UK did.
You remember 2017? They did the thing on Oxford Street, didn't they? In 2017,
which was great.
where they brought 8 or 9 of the players and Sean Payton onto the stage. I've still got the video on my phone. Zach Streif threw a football out. I caught it. It's up there on top of the thing up there. And that was really cool. But they kept the players
James,
at arm's
just
distance, didn't they?
Just quickly on that one.
Yeah.
How many 7-year-olds did you elbow out the way?
No, I jumped up, caught it.
There must have been a kid there somewhere. Yeah.
No,
James, just like, I caught him one-handed whilst I was slapping the 6-year-old.
Mike, next time I see you, I'll show you the video because I was filming as I caught it.
Oh, man.
Odell Baker Jr.
Not quite.
But that little, because they, you're right. They used to do that down in that sort of Oxford,
the middle bit by when Nike was. And
yes.
Yeah. But that was a really great little occasion. Like myself and my wife went to a couple of those, and it was just brilliant for them. I know now they sort of do it on the South Bank and sort of thing, but the one that they do on the South Bank sort of doesn't feel as in sort of NFL inclusive. It's a little bit more, doesn't feel as structured and as well thought out. The one they used to do when it was on just off Regent Street and all that sort of thing just felt very, very well put together.
Do you know what I think it is? I think for the first few years it was a novelty for the teams coming over to Europe and playing a game. Now it's not a novelty anymore. They know they've got to do it at least once. So they come over and they just treat it all business.
Yeah. Which is a shame.
But even the South Bank, even the South Bank was all Jag stuff. It was Saints Vikings. You had Jags mascots there. It was all designed about building the Jags brand more than anything else.
Yeah, and I'm sure. I think all three of us. I think last year when it was rumoured that the Saints were going to be playing in Germany, I know I booked free hotel rooms. Yeah, we booked hotel rooms, didn't we? And it was like, I don't care. I'm going. I'll be there. But without
I was told the Saints were playing the Patriots there last year. I was told, book your hotels. Yeah. The Saints are playing the Patriots.
Yeah. But then the thing, again, because even though I'd love to go to Germany for because I love Germany anyway. I've been to Germany a number of times and I love the place. It would have been remarkable to go over there and see the NFL experience with the Saints, even without the Saints being there. I'd love to sample what the NFL experience is like over there, but without a shadow of doubt, it would have been a lot better than it has been in London for the last few years because it is new ground. It's new market they're breaking. So and don't get me wrong, I know Germany is probably a naturally bigger NFL market than the UK, purely because historically, when we think back in the 80s and the 90s, when we had the NFL in Europe, Germany was one that was sustaining that bloody whole thing.
That's where Jeff coached. Jeff coached there.
Yeah. But it's a naturally bigger, and that's also, I think, to do with all the army bases that have been over there. So American football was sort of introduced more organically over there than it probably was over here. But regardless of that, they would have made such an effort because it's the first couple of years that they're over there. So I'm sure that experience in Germany would have been, as an NFL fan, regardless of what team you supported, I reckon it would have been fantastic to sample.
To that point, there's a lot of NFL fans who are fans because of the military that was stationed in Germany, and they was putting out radio broadcasts from Germany that you could pick up in Europe, and that's how a lot of fans got in listening to games. One thing I'll say, going back to the fan of the year thing, I follow a number of German fan caves on Instagram. None of them won the International Fan of the Year, and they are honestly, they are like. You look at some of these ones in the US, they exceed the US ones. They're unbelievable, some of these German fan caves, and none of them really got a sniff.
Have you seen the Scottish Texans guy?
Dan's pretty good friends with him,
Yeah, I've met him a couple of times. He's a sound bloke, he is. But yeah, he loves his Texans.
Yeah, his cave is incredible.
He a couple of times when he's been over to the States, he's come home with stuff for me. Like if he's gone to like a store and they've had Saints stuff, he's picked up and sent it back to me. Like it's just Graham is just such a top guy.
Yeah,
want to get him. Yeah. We got an idea for a new format we're going to do on the pod. We want to get him on as one of the contributors to that format.
I was at one of those, when NFL, they haven't done it for a while now, but they did the tour around the country, and there was Neil Reynolds, Jeff Reinbold, and a couple of ex-players or a couple of co-players.
Yeah.
I was there in in the Wirral, and the theatre in the Wirral, and he was given a ticket to the Super Bowl at that event.
Oh wow! Oh god, yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah, I've seen that on video.
Yeah, so I was at that event. I got selected to ask a question to the people on the stage that night. So one of the guests on the stage that night was Mohamed Sanu, who played for the Falcons, and it was the Wednesday before the Rams NFC Championship game. So all day I've been thinking, right, if I get the opportunity to ask a question, what can I ask him? What can I ask him? So obviously he's playing for the Falcons. Had the Saints have beaten the Rams, they would have been practicing at the Falcons training facility. So in front of 500 people, they gave me the microphone. So I'm stood up and I asked a question, and this is the question I asked him, right? It was just like, it's okay. So, I mean, obviously the Falcons season's finished. He said, and obviously the NFC team are going to be the team that practice at the Falcons training facility. He said, can you just confirm if you've left it tidy for the Saints? And his response was, man, I fucking hate the Saints.
Top boy.
Yeah, but I was dead nervous. Is this going to go down well or not? It did.
Yeah.
It really did. And everybody laughed.
Yeah.
I was just like, I've got to find some way of getting a Saint digging it, and that was the one that I chose. But yeah, so
yeah.
But it was that night where he got the Super Bowl ticket.
That's better than my. Well, I've been to one. I went to one in King's Cross, London, and it was. You know what I'm going to say here, but it was when it was that. It was that season as well. So it started that season. So it was when Alex Jenkins, the international pathway player, was there as the Saints rep. No, it was season before. And then Alex Gray, the rugby player for the Falcons, and Effie Ababi. He was a Panthers player. But Taron was there when he was a Cardinal. And I was pretty drunk sitting there. And he went, Taron in his New Orleans drawl. He was like, yes, I'm from New Orleans. And I just went, 504, baby. Just people looked at me like, that guy's fucking off his tits. Like, no one
they didn't have a clue what you were talking about.
No, I just shrunk in my seat. I was like, nope.
he just thought, fuck me, Jason Statham's after me. I'm out of here. 504 in London probably means there's a shooter.
It wasn't
there's a fucking shooter in the building.
Moment. And
I'm baby.
Yeah,
he just nodded, but he just nodded. But I wish I'd been as composed as you were, James, to be able to actually say something that wasn't just intense, just a.
I do love when Dan says composed, what he really means sober.
Look, potatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes. Horses.
On that note, I'm going to go right. So now, James, we have to get into the crux of it, my friend. Was it the Saints or was it the City? How did it happen for you?
So for me, long story. This is going to go back a few years now. So I've watched the NFL.
As long as you're happy to crack on, we are.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, absolutely. So I've watched the NFL since it came onto Channel 4 in the 1980s. Always watched it. But back then, it was on at 9:00 every Sunday night, and they only ever showed the 49ers. It was the team that was shown all the time. It was Montana, Jerry Rice, Roger Craig, so they were the best team around at the time. So I was just watching it all the way through there until 1992. And my great aunt back in the 60s married an American serviceman from Louisiana and moved to America. Lived over there. In 1992, she came to visit and brought me T-shirts, caps, hats, stickers, everything, all to do with the Saints. So from that point on, because I like the NFL, that was my team. The Saints were my team. So that's how I became a Saints fan. And in the 90s, at that time, they weren't very good. They were not very good at all.
Just on that one, I'm going to now. It's for me to debate then. Would that be the Saints or the City? Because obviously your great aunt is like. So that's like what? Dan, what do you think? Is that the Saints or the City? I suppose it's the Saints, isn't it?
I'm gonna. Well, I don't know. I could go with the state because.
Yeah. No, you're right.
In Louisiana, so the state drew him in because of her relocating to Louisiana. So there's a third cog there that we've never explored.
Yeah.
So I'm quickly gonna go on my phone and see if I can search that out, if we can get that and pay for that. The state, the city of me.
I've already registered the website for SaintsCityMe.
I know, Dan. It doesn't work for the pod. Look, back me up, son. Back me up.
Sorry.
The States. No, you're right. It's probably a state. So it's a little bit of an in-betweener. Yeah.
Yeah. So from 92, I was just focused on the Saints, and they were my team. You know, I got my first ever Madden game in 1993, so it would have been Madden 92 when I got so playing on the Sega Mega Drive. I was always the Saints, and they were terrible. They were absolutely abysmal on Madden back then, right? All the way through, you know, watching when it came on Sky, trying to catch up with the Saints. It was really difficult to find out what was going on back then because the internet didn't exist and all that kind of thing. And then I finally made my first trip over in 2002. I went to stay with my family. I went to stay with my family for 2 weeks. Now they live just north of the city, so they live in Hammond and Ponchatoula, which is just north of
where Eric grew up.
Yeah,
Mandeville and places like that. So the first time I went, I stayed with them for 2 weeks, and I spent most of my time outside of the city. So it was in Louisiana as a whole. Went to Baton Rouge, went to an LSU game, all that kind of thing. My first, and it was an LSU Alabama game as well, and LSU lost. 34-0, I think LSU lost. It wasn't great. But the 2 weeks I was there, the Saints were away both weekends, so I never got to go to a game in 2002. Yeah, I didn't plan that very well. And then I went again in 2003. I was on and you'll love this. I did a 2-month Greyhound bus tour of America.
I know. We've spoken about this. This is fucking. This is. I would love to do this now.
Oh, so would I.
And I might do this now. I've said before, my wife has previously said to me about, look, do you want to live in New Orleans for like the 4.5 months or whatever it is of the season? And she's like said to me, genuinely, you can go and do it. The only reason I wouldn't do it is that I don't think I'd ever not come back. Well, no, I don't think I'd survive. I think I would never come back purely because I wouldn't be alive. Because I couldn't live in that city. I love that city, but I'm not sure I could live there. But that concept that you're saying about greyhounding across the country, I would absolutely love to do that.
So me and a friend, I'd been in the first job I ever had. I was there for 10 years. So they offered me a sabbatical. So I was like, what can I do? So me and another friend of mine who was at the job, just like, let's go to America. So we flew to Seattle on September the 1st from Heathrow, and we had 63 days to get to New York to catch our flight home. We did.
I love that.
Yeah, so we did. What did we do? I've got to try and remember. So we did Seattle, San Francisco, San Diego, Las Vegas, Dallas, Houston, Louisiana, Memphis, Chicago, Niagara, Boston, Washington, Philadelphia, New York. That was our route around America.
Down, cross, up, down.
Yeah. So I mean, what I would say is Las Vegas to Dallas. Try and find an alternative than the bus. It's 33.5 hours on a bus.
No, not doing it.
So that was the trip we was going to do this year. We was originally going to fly into Austin and drive from Austin to Vegas, and luckily Virgin cancelled the route to Austin because no one was traveling there because I suppose the fintech collapse and stuff. So now we're going into San Fran and driving down to Vegas from there. But yeah, when I was looking at the points, I was like, there's literally like Austin, Lubbock, Flagstaff, Vegas. And he's like, it's a lot of open road.
Desert. It's a lot of desert, a lot of hills, and a lot of cactus.
I was good. So what did you think of San Diego? I went down there last year. I thought it was lovely down there. Really nice.
Oh, I loved it.
San Diego,
absolutely
really nice
loved
place.
It. Only supposed to stay 3 days, but ended up staying for a week.
Yeah, it's beautiful down there. Really, like I would suggest to anyone thinking of going to California, go down to San Diego. It is spectacular. Really nice.
Yeah, no, I mean, I missed out LA completely because I just heard horror stories about it, and to be honest, I'm not disappointed that I missed it out completely.
Yeah, I mean, it depends where you go. Like Hollywood it's like going to Piccadilly Circus. Really, it's like you get all the crap that comes with it. There are other pockets, but you can. I'd go to. If you said to me you can go to LA or San Diego, I'd go to San Diego if I was given the choice.
Yeah, no, it's much nicer. I mean, you got is it what's it called? Is it the Gaslamp District where all the bars and things are around there? The zoo is amazing.
The zoo's great. There's two. Anyone's listening to this, there's 2 New Orleans, Louisiana restaurants there. We didn't actually get to go to them, but I know our friend Sherman's been to them. It's like proper New Orleans food in there. So there's something else which is decent there. You got La Jolla with all the seals and the sea lions. I'm pivoting here, Mike. I apologise, but it's definitely
crack on.
Go.
Yeah.
No.
The main thing I wanted to do. The main thing I wanted to do in San Diego was one of my favorite films of all times is Top Gun. Right. I'm sure you're all the same. We all love Top Gun, right? The original Top Gun.
I don't.
You know the restaurant where they play Great Balls of Fire, where he plays the piano, Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah.
I had to go there, and I went there, and we had a few drinks and something to eat in that restaurant. The piano's still there. I've got pictures of me sat at the piano and playing and stuff like that. That just.
I didn't know that was there. I probably would have gone, but we did. We took a boat out around the bay, and you can drive right close to those carriers, and they are fucking massive.
Huge.
They are just because you've got the Midway there, which you can go and walk along, but they've got active ones in there as well. It's just like unreal when you're in a speedboat going alongside them, and they're going like, "Don't go within 90 foot, or they'll shoot you." And I'm like, "All right." Just trying to gauge it. Is that a football field length? Yeah, seems all right. But that sounds like a phenomenal trip to do, James. The Greyhound trip.
It really was. 63 days of just bombing around America, doing what the hell I wanted.
That's
incredible. I went to watch 2 baseball games. I went to watch a San Francisco Giants game, and then I went to watch a Padres game in the old Qualcomm Stadium. So not the new stadium that was being built when I was there. So the old Qualcomm Stadium. I went to watch an ice hockey game and a basketball game in Chicago. I went to watch a Knicks game, Madison Square Garden. Yeah, Blackhawks, Minnesota Wild it was, if I remember rightly. I went to watch the Knicks play the Magic, opening game of the season in Madison Square Garden. Tracy McGrady.
Oh, wow.
People like that playing in the game. That was pretty cool.
I've seen the Knicks in Madison Square Garden. It's a good atmosphere for them, even though they're not very good. It's still a good atmosphere.
2001, I went to America. I went to New York in the January of 2001. Obviously, that's pretty infamous year in New York.
Yeah,
I went to watch the Knicks play the Pacers, so I got to see Reggie Miller play in Madison Square Garden, and they hated him.
I'm quickly going to phone my wife and ask her if I can go on a 64-day trip to America.
I'll come with you, Mike.
Everyone join. Let's do it.
To be honest, we probably don't need a Greyhound. We could just get a coach and we just all go together. And just drive. I'm comfortable driving over there. I ain't got a problem. I went to see the Knicks in 2007. They played, I think 2007. They were playing the Miami Heat, and Shaq was playing, and I think Dwayne Wade was playing, and I didn't have a clue who Dwayne Wade was at the time, so I had no clue. And Carmelo Anthony was playing for the Knicks at that time, but I didn't really know basketball. Now I didn't know any of the players were. I just knew Shaquille O'Neal was playing. I was like, that'll do. That's good for me.
Yeah.
The first time I went. Go on. I was saying, first time I went to Orlando, that was when he signed for the Magic. So sorry, I've got such a delay at my end. It's my fault.
No, it's all right. It's all right. So NBA players from like the late 90s and early 2000s, right? Gary Payton, the glove, used to play at Seattle. I saw him play in 2002. So the first year the Hornets were in New Orleans, I went to watch a Sonics Hornets game and got to see Gary Payton play. That was pretty cool. Kevin Garnett.
Yeah.
I sat third. Yeah. I sat.
Anything
third
is possible.
Row. Yeah, I sat third row at the Hornets game. $50 the ticket cost me, and Kevin Garnett was sat right in front of me, and I've never been so scared in my life because he's fucking huge.
Back then, that was a fucking load of money.
$50 for the third row. Yeah. I mean, you'd probably be paying what, $500 for that now?
I know now, but even so,
I reckon a couple of grand. I reckon.
Especially the way the Pelicans are playing right now.
Or we might get a game in. We're there when they played the
in,
Lakers last game of the season, so we might try and get it
you've got to try and go.
Yeah, we will. We'll
the
definitely,
ticket prices are like compared to every other game.
Yeah. So, you see, like the 4 games between them, they're like, yeah, and that game is like, ha 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 ha.
So last game of the season, seedings.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to see LeBron James play when he was at the Cavaliers. I was in Charlotte for work, and they played the Hornets.
Nice.
It's just like, and everyone was like, the ticket prices are stupid because it's LeBron James, but they had Kemba Walker was at the Hornets then as well. But it's he's just like LeBron James is just like a different cut. Like you could tell, even though I don't know much about basketball, I could tell just by watching him. I just like, this guy's just mustard. He's so good.
And this is an indication of how long it is he's played in the NBA. Is when I was in America doing my tour in 2002, he was playing in the NBA then. And what are we now? 2024. So 2003, I did my tour of America.
Yeah,
it's 2024, and he's still playing.
That longevity, man! Wow.
Yeah. You get that thing. I don't know. You probably have seen it. That fucking twat Skip Bayless, where he talks about longevity records. And it's almost like a dismissive thing of LeBron. And it's absolutely not a dismissive thing from the way I view it, is that because not only do you play that long, but you play at that level as well, which is just incredible. I mean, let's get it right. But anyway, I really apologize to anybody who listens to this for the fact I brought Skip Bayless into it. I'm really sorry. I apologize. Anyway, I think we'll probably move on from that name. And so Louisiana, your great aunt, you go over there. Have you been going back and forth? Is that something you've been doing, or was that a one-off trip? Or
so I've been 3 times. Yeah, I've been 3 times.
Is that to see family? Yeah.
Yeah. So every time I've been over there, I've been to see my family. So 2002, I went for the first time. Then 2003, I spent a week there when I was doing my tour, and then I went for Christmas 2017 for my 40th birthday. Went over there. We did 5 days in with wife and daughter. We did 5 days in New York before Christmas, and then flew down on the 23rd of December down to New Orleans. So it was snowing and freezing cold in New York, and then when we landed in New Orleans, it was 8 degrees on December the 23rd.
Yeah. What's Christmas?
Absolutely crazy.
What's Christmas like in the area in Louisiana? What's Christmas like? Because obviously, I've been there in December, but not quite. Obviously, sort of towards Christmas, I've been there when like all the lights.
I hope it's warm.
Yeah, because you're going this year, aren't you, Dan? Around that period.
Yeah.
Well, December the 23rd, 2017, it was 80 degrees when I landed at the airport. So not cold, not cold at all. Yes. How do I describe Christmas? It's different.
Yeah.
Very, very different. So obviously Americans celebrate Christmas like we do, the same.
Yeah.
But my favorite meal of the year is Christmas dinner. Every year, it's my favorite meal of the year.
I know, because you post it every single time in the Saints Sport ad group. I know. Literally, James will not post. James never posts, or really very rarely posts pictures in the Saints WhatsApp group. The only picture I know that James is going to post is Christmas dinner.
Christmas Day. Christmas dinner every year.
Yeah.
So we went to one of my cousins for Christmas dinner, and it was so you have turkey, right? But obviously how they cook turkey over there. They don't put it in the oven, they fry it. Okay? That's fine. No problem at all with that. But then you have weird things with it, like sweet potato with marshmallows on top.
Okay.
Yeah.
But being dad a little bit like
no. Mashed sweet potatoes. So obviously sweet potatoes, nice. But then there's marshmallow on top. And then they torch the marshmallow. And gravy isn't gravy. It's white, it's not brown. I mean, you know about that, biscuits and gravy. It's white, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it was an experience. I missed being at home for it, but it was great to experience a different way.
James is just a UK Christmas homebody, aren't you, mate?
I am.
It's my wife is very similar to you because especially since my kids have grown up and flown the nest. Quite often I say to her, "Can we go away for Christmas, like somewhere warm and stuff?" And she is simply like, "Nope." Every Sunday, it's only myself and my wife, but I'd say virtually 3 out of 4 Sundays in a month, my wife will have a roast dinner. I don't mind a roast, but it's not my favorite meal. So when she says I'm having a roast dinner, I'm like, nah. I think I've posted a picture to Dad about when my wife has a roast dinner. I have, when you can go into the supermarket and you get wasabi. Wasabi. So I have noodles with chicken, and I'll have roast potatoes with it. And that's my Sunday dinner. And my wife will have an actual Sunday dinner. She makes the Sunday dinner all for herself, and I'll say, "Can I have some roast potatoes with a wasabi?" And so anyway, my wife would be like you. If she went somewhere else and they did a roast that was of the area that you're in, my wife would not be she'd be like, "Okay, that was all right, but let's move on."
I reckon I could get behind a crawfish cocktail instead of a prawn cocktail. Could get on that for a starter.
Oh yeah. I could get on the board of it because I'm not a fan of roast dinner. So yeah, I'll have whatever they throw in front of me. Sweet potato with fucking, I don't know, with Smarties on top. I'll eat that.
Turtle soup.
Hey, look, I ate alligator, and I think I've said this before. I ate alligator, and my wife was like, "How can you eat an animal that you love?" Which, like, alligator eye. And I'm like, yeah, it's like their farm. That's what they do,
Do you know what? I've eaten alligator over there. Everybody said, "What did it taste like?" I was like, "It was just like eating chicken."
Yeah, it was a little bit chewier, a little bit more texture, but it's exactly like that. But anyway,
bigger popcorn chicken from KFC.
Yes, very much like that. Yeah.
You're not.
I hope no one from Louisiana. No one from Louisiana listens to that bit.
All right, so 2017, you're there with your wife and your daughter. You go to New York. You're down with the family, and then you go to your first Saints game. So when you're going to stay with your family, when you're coming into the city, so did you actually come into the city and stay there for a period of time, or were you still staying at your family's?
No. Drove in on the day.
All right. So do you drive in and you drive past the dome, which is everyone, like the first time?
Yes.
What was the feeling, James, when you're in the car and you just pass that building?
The first time I did it was in 2002, and
all right, yeah,
and you're in awe because it's the most unique looking stadium I think I've ever seen. So I took a picture when I was outside it in 2017 and sent it to like the family group chat, and it's like, "What's that?" It's like my mother-in-law's like, "What's that?" I said, "That's the stadium," and she's like, "It's not a stadium." I said, "No, that's the building I'm about to go into and watch a game."
Is it a spaceship?
Exactly what she said.
Yeah, but
what she said.
But with all these, and it's a really weird one because again, we're Saints fans, and obviously it's going to be awe-inspiring to us, whether you see it in daytime, whether you see it in the evening when it's lit up. But it's a very unusual building when you think about modern stadia.
Yeah.
Like even any other sort of indoor dome type stadia, we all know, we can all go around the world and we can all look at all these stadiums online. Nothing looks like that. It's like a relic of the past, but it still feels current. It's a weird one. For me, it's weird.
It takes over the skyline of the whole city.
Yeah. It does, and it does because obviously New Orleans doesn't have a huge amount of sort of high rise. It's got obviously a lot more in the last 20 years, but it's like when you do the skyline of New Orleans, it's like there are still only maybe about 5 or 6 buildings that you can really see from a distance. But as you come into the city, is it the I-10 you come in, and it's just there. It's like the first thing you see. And especially in the evening when it's lit up, it's like a beacon of fucking beauty. That's what I think.
That's exactly what it is. And because they light it up different colours for different things, don't they? If the Pelicans are playing at home, it's in Pelicans colours. Obviously, you've had Paddy's Day this week. It was lit up green for Paddy's Day and all that kind of thing. It's the most unique. It's the most unique building stadium wise. I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. So obviously your first time going. Sorry, Dan. Go on, mate.
No, I was going to say it's like some of these buildings you see in the UK, like they're very of their era, and they don't necessarily age well. But the dome just seems to like it's of an era, but it's like ageless. It's dated.
It doesn't.
But it's ageless. It's
it doesn't
weird.
look old.
It's like almost like a paradox of itself. It's like it's old, but it doesn't look old. You know, it's dated, but it doesn't look dated. It's weird to explain.
Yeah, but I also think it's because of where it's positioned. Because obviously, if you're like as James is doing, if you're coming in from the north side of Pontchartrain, or you're coming in from the airport, it's literally you can see the high rises behind it, but it's the first thing that you see that has a domination of the skyline, even though it's not that tall. As you come in, it sort of dominates it. It really dominates it, and it's
I specifically, when I fly in, I will always that flight from Atlanta to, if I get a connection from Atlanta to New Orleans, I will always sit on the left-hand side of the plane because that route always comes round and then it goes over Pontchartrain and comes round. So you've got the view of the city in the dome as it banks around Pontchartrain over the swampland and comes into the airport. So you get just the best view of the dome from that route. So again, little tip: if you're coming in from Atlanta, get on the left-hand side. Even New York, actually, because it still comes down the same path.
Yeah, they all come down the same
left-hand
path.
side of the plane.
Yeah. So your first time going in there, were you with your wife and your child when you went for the first game, or were you with family or friends?
No. So I was with I was with my cousin's husband. And he got the tickets for me. But he could only get, because it was a Saints Falcons game, could only get 2 tickets.
Yeah.
So my wife and I left my wife and daughter with my family and let them do Christmas Eve things. They carry on doing that.
Bruv. Respect you, mate. Respect you.
So I went and obviously from the Dolphins game in 2017, I'd met up with some people from Louisiana in the Barrow Boy and Banker. Dan, I think you were in the Barrow Boy and Banker that Saturday night before the game in 2017.
No, I was in there on the Sunday. I got thrown out.
Okay. So on the Saturday night,
wait, no, Jane, sorry. Dan, why did you get thrown out?
Because we had arguments with the bar staff.
Why?
Because they told us they had NFL on, and they didn't, and they kept telling us they was going to have NFL on, and then the NFL started, and they didn't put it on. They said, "Oh, we haven't got a Sky license," and we was like, "Well, why the fuck didn't you tell us that?" Because Belushi's is down the road, and they've got it on, and we argued with them, and they threw us out. So we went to Belushi's and had a great night.
I'll tell you what, it's people like you that make me sick. It really is.
Oh, really?
Sorry, James. Sorry, mate.
That's all right. Yeah. So met up with some people from Louisiana in the Barrow Boy and Banker, which was the Saints pub for the weekend for the Dolphins game. And kept in touch with them. So they've got a parking space right outside the dome, like literally just behind the Gleason statue. So they were tailgating there. So went and met them and like drinking. Well, they Goldschlager and Jaeger bombs at like 10 o'clock in the morning because it's
respect.
So I was there with my cousin's husband and we were just.
I take it he drove. He drove.
Yeah, he drove.
Oh yeah, so you were enjoying yourself.
Yeah, he drove.
Yeah.
So we did the tailgating, and then I was keen to get inside, and he's like, yeah, but nothing happens before. I was like, no, I really want to go. And so about an hour before the game, he finally relented and let me go into the stadium, and I was end zone lower, just so you know where the Saints come out of the tunnel. I was literally just to the right, up a little bit from that tunnel. I've got a cracking video of the player introductions. And it was the offense they introduced as well. So it was Kamara, Breeze, Michael Thomas, Ingram. It was superb.
Shut the back door.
Yeah, and watch the game. And it was I'm getting goosebumps again talking about it. I can't put it into words how good that experience was, because I think that was peak Saints. Apart from 2009,
in recent years, absolutely.
Saints.
Yeah,
I said to Mike before on here, and he joked about it, but it's obviously similar sort of thing. So my first game in the Dome was the NFC Championship game, but like you say, James, that introduction, the players come out and the stadium's electric, and they've got the pyrotechnics going up. It's what I can only imagine, like chasing the high of that must be like, I've said before, Mike, and don't know if it's like, must be like being on crack, because it's like, you want that high again and again and again. And it's like, you can't necessarily just replicate it. It has to be authentic when you do it. And it's nothing like it. It's just unreal to see those players run out and that stadium.
You
make
a really good point. You make a really good point there, because the next time I go will never be as good as that first time.
No.
You're never going to get that kind of that feeling again. I'm never probably ever going to get that feeling again. Even if I go another 20 times, I don't think it's going to be the same as that first time of watching them at that point.
I mean,
that's really depressing, you know. That's really depressing.
So the only difference I had was Michael said first time I went was obviously for that game. The second time I went with Mike, and I was very hungover. But I started crying.
Well, no.
Outside the Dome.
No, Dan, you weren't very hungover. You were disastrously hungover. You were in bits. You were a disappointment to me as a British man. That's all I can say.
I'm going to turn in my passport. I'm turning my passport. I'm going to be in.
We got in at the same time, and I cannot believe you were that disastrous.
I went to bed before you. I was.
No, we brought back the same.
I left you on.
No.
I left. No. Sorry, James.
Anyway, James, we're not going to have a lovers' tiff.
No,
we're going to have a lovers' tiff.
I left my hurricane on the. I left my hurricane on. Do you know what I know? Because I left my hurricane on the curb, and I was compass mentis enough to go and get myself a bottle of water and buy my kids the voodoo dolls they wanted from the shop before I went to bed.
You got in before me. I was probably about 4.5 minutes after you, and
you wasn't, because I was on your bed sorting myself out.
Well, that's a little bit rude.
I wasn't really.
Anyway. So the point. I know the point that Dan's making, and yet again, we've sort of touched on this before. It's like the effort that we have to make to get over there. So sometimes, and we've spoken about it before, James, where other people have been on, or we've talked about sort of people that we know in America who sort of take it for granted. You know, it's like I listen to the Dome Patrol, and obviously I know Jason goes and his wife goes, and sometimes they leave a bit early for whatever reason it is. As a UK fan, I'd be sitting there thinking, I just look. You know, I went there in 2021, and I saw us on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys, and the following Thursday against the Bills, and we got battered
against the
by
Bills.
A pair of them. I mean, the Bills just obliterated us. But yet again, I traveled all that way.
or something like that.
Yeah, 33, and I spent all that money, all that sort of thing. But yet again, but then I do have to put it into context, because if somebody from New Orleans was a Man United fan or an Arsenal fan, and they only get the opportunity to come over once in a blue moon to Old Trafford or the Emirates, or it doesn't matter what the result is, you would stay there until the end. So sometimes you have to put it in context, even though I think, I don't take it for granted. If you're a season ticket holder and you're going there every week and your team's getting absolutely battered, I can sort of probably understand why you might leave. But even as an Arsenal fan, when I used to go every week, I'd never leave the stadium. It was like, that's just the way I am. But yeah, it's
Jason,
I never take it for
was really worried
granted. So
about
when
someone
Dan was saying that
breaking
when
into his
over,
car.
He's got a nice parking spot in the dome. He's fine. He's fine. I always take the piss out of him because
he don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, he never goes to pre-season games, and I'm like, what? Why? There's only 8. You've got a maximum of 9 games a season. Surely you'd want to maximize your opportunity to see it. He says, no, pre-season games are boring. I would give my right arm to go and watch the pre-season games.
I listened to the I remember listening to your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which game was it? He left the game early, and I think you was recording. Him and Wes had a bit of a tiff over it, and then Wes left the podcast because
I can't remember. I can't remember what game it was.
Playing recording.
Me and James met about it was about 6 weeks ago, didn't we, James? We met in Manchester, and me and you talked about this, and I was fucking pissing myself about this.
Yeah,
James he played a recording or something, didn't he? And it was just like, no, fuck it, I'm going.
So obviously I host the post game show, and obviously the reason we do that is because it allows you to get your frustrations. It allows you to vent immediately after the game, and then we do a bit more of a measured one on a Tuesday. But this one, we started recording, and then Jason had been drinking. He left early. He said something, and then Wesley just got up, and it would be like Mike just leaving now and not coming back. So it was just an empty chair. And then I sent a text message when we finished to Wesley. It's like, you might want to log off your laptop because we finished recording. And he didn't reply. But yeah, that's the whole point of the instant reaction, is it allows you to kind of get your frustrations out. And there was a lot of that last year. There was.
Yeah. There's no, you can't hide away from it.
No, but on the whole, leaving the game early thing. The first time I went to the one time I've been to the Dome, my cousin's husband wanted to go, and I was like, I just want to sit and take this in. I'd quite like to just be sat here with an empty stadium. And he's like, no, we need to go. And I was like, can you just give me 10 minutes? And I just sat there, and it was empty. I was just looking at it, and I was just like, yeah, this is great. This is absolutely great.
We and Mike actually we went for the Bears game. They almost chucked us out because we were just like hanging back because we wanted to see the Dome completely empty. And they was like, you've got to go. And we was like, can we just see it? And I was like, no, you got just get out. Like, part of us wanted to see like the players on the field with their families and stuff afterwards. But they threw it. They didn't throw us out, but they was like, you've got to go now. We want to clear.
They encouraged you to leave.
Yeah, that's the polite way of putting it. But it was just like, you can't say, it's difficult because you can't say, look, I'm a tourist. You don't say I'm a tourist, but you don't say, look, I'm an international fan. I've flown all this way. I just want to see it, because to them it's like, we got protocol and we just need to follow it. Which is, I understand it, but it's like, it's like to the point you made earlier about like sideline tickets and stuff like that, all things like, how do you get them and stuff? Because we don't get those chances like other people do, and you want to maximize it and indulge in every single element of being there that you can. And
you'd only want to do it once. You wouldn't want you're not doing it to expect getting sideline passes for every game you ever go to. There, just let me do it once. Let me high five a couple of players, get a couple of pictures. Do you know what I mean?
It's a weird one for me. It's like, because we're going over, obviously I don't know what the fixtures are yet, but we're flying over on the 27th of December and we're there for a week. Basically, like, my wife and kids have been saying to me they want to go for ages, and it's it's like with the school holidays in the UK, obviously I think your daughter's a similar sort of age to my daughter. It's like you've got that 1 week in October, and that's it, other than Christmas, and that's the only time you can go to the States when there's a game on. And next October for half term, certainly, I know your half term will probably be different to ours, but is when Taylor Swift is playing in the Dome. So I know there won't be a game on during half term next year because Taylor Swift is going to be there for 3 or 4 nights. So we've booked Christmas on the off chance that it's going to, the Saints at home, great. If not, we can maybe go to the Sugar Bowl. But when it's like, you don't, to your point, it's like, you don't want to take the piss, but it's like, how do I can I buy that sideline? Do you know what I mean? It's like, how do you fight? Because we just don't know as international fans, because it's not as well communicated. It's like, how do I do that? Because I'd love to take my son for him to stand there on the sidelines and get the bug, if that makes sense. It's like, being that close. It's like when you first go to Old Trafford or White Hart Lane or whatever, and you sit 6 rows from the front of the pitch, and you're like, oh my god, this is like, you can hear the players breathing and stuff. It's I want to give him that, but I don't know how you do it. So, maybe it's a question to ask someone who's more well versed in it. But I know that obviously season ticket holders and stuff get them. But
Jason got picked to be fan of the week or something for one game this year, and him and his wife got to go down onto the sideline for one of the games. And if he'd have just stayed where he was stood for 5 more minutes before going to his seat, Drew Brees was there. He was gutted because Wesley was at the game as well, and he took a picture and was like, Jason, you were stood there 5 minutes ago, and look who's there now. So it'd have been like 5 minutes away from me.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, I just want a picture and shake the man's hand. That'll do. I don't need any more.
It's that, just like, because you don't get those. It's not like, I suppose, as international fans, like, I know where Tottenham's training ground is, and I can go there and I can stand outside, and if a player will go past, and I'm sure it's the same with Carrington. Is it Carrington for Man United?
Yeah.
Carrington, yeah. So you can stand outside and you get lucky. But when you go there as an international fan, you haven't got those opportunities to go and stand outside 5,000 airline drive or whatever the address is, and hope that someone stops for you. It's like, you just got to take the chances when they come up. And it's a different world for us as international fans, because it's just I suppose, going back to that taking for granted, it's the flip side. We can't take it for granted, so we have to try and go for it as much as we can. And whether it's when they come over to the UK and us trying to get something going, or whatever else we want to do, it's like trying to make it happen. I suppose that's international fandom of a team that's not in the country you live in. I suppose it's the consequences of it. But
yeah, it is, and the time differences and the fact that it's 6 or 7 hours, maybe even 8 hours on a plane. It's not easy. Like you said, you can probably get to Tottenham's training ground in half an hour from where you live, probably, maybe a little bit longer than that. But I mean, I know that I could drive to Carrington in 40 minutes from where I am. It's a lot easier, and it's they NFL practices, they keep them secret for obvious reasons, don't they? You don't want to give game plans away and stuff like that. But it's like, you're right. I mean, I've driven past the Saints training facility a few times. You never see people hanging around. That kind of thing doesn't exist. The fans almost know that your only opportunity to see the players train is in pre-season.
Yeah.
After that, you just leave them to it.
Yeah, which is why everyone's so upset about this going to California, because they're taking away our opportunity to see the team train and things. And it's to your point, it's that one opportunity throughout the year to be able to go down there and see what's going on and meet players and see them up close outside the dome.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like, to your point, next time they come over, they've got to do so much more.
Yeah,
and we're not asking for much. Not asking for much, just something.
Yeah,
give us something.
The problem is when you see other fan, and I think this international marketing rights thing, like, my concern with it is that teams won't put as much effort in if it's not an area where they got marketing rights. But there's no.
The Saints tried to get the UK.
Oh, did they? I didn't know that.
Alex told me the Saints tried to get the UK, but they didn't get picked.
Yeah, I suppose the UK, Germany are the two. Like, to me, like, France is obvious because there's a cultural and historic element to it. But you want to get an area where you're going to get volume of fans in addition. Like some of the teams have got like 3 countries that they've got under the marketing rights. And teams like the Bills haven't got anywhere. But it's a shame the Saints didn't get the UK because that would have been a real opportunity for us to, as a group of fans to build on what we've got. You right there, Mike? Yeah. Welcome back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have no idea. My laptop just completely shut off and it won't turn back on. So those technical. James, go fuck yourself.
Mike? Have you been on LimeWire again?
No,
LimeWire.
Literally, I have no idea. I've got no idea why. It's an old laptop. I think I might have to upgrade.
It's an old user.
All right, I'm going to say it. What a can of cunts. So anyway, where were we?
You did it, didn't you? We've had a chat about some other bits, but fill your boots, mate.
I don't know what you were talking about.
We were just talking about how hard it is to be an international fan and teams making more of an effort.
All right. Also, James, I know last year you were planning on going back over, but I know obviously situations got in the way and you weren't able to go. So, have you got a plan to go back?
Yes. Yeah. I want to go this year.
What are you looking at doing?
Well, I need to see the fixtures really because we're playing at Dallas next year, aren't we? We've got a game at Dallas, I think, next year. And obviously Wesley, who does the Dome Patrol with me, he lives in Dallas. So what I want to do is combine the Dallas game with a home game. My ideal scenario would be Dallas one week and then the Denver home game the week after, because I want to go to the Denver home game because Peyton's going to get shit from me for being a dirty little quitting bitch.
But also the problem you've got there is that game will be so expensive to go to.
Yes,
I mean, obviously there are times where you go over and we sort of touched on it earlier where I was saying when I went over to the Dallas and the Bills game and literally my tickets, I got fantastic tickets and they were so cheap. It was unreal. I don't think it matters how the Saints are doing when Denver come to the Dome. Those tickets will be very, very expensive for the reasons that you're putting forward, because I think half the fan base will want to give him grief. The other half will want to show him a bit of love still.
Fine. Show him love before the game and after the game, but during the game, no love whatsoever.
Give him bits.
Yeah, no,
absolutely give him bits.
Absolutely. Now, look, it's a very slim chance that those two games will be next to each other in the calendar. But I think my preference would be to come over for the Denver game. That's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah. I mean, I'm holding like literally most year, like not most years, but occasionally I've sort of waited to find out when the majority of Brit fans are going over, like the Saints block party thing. But this year for me, there are one of two things. It's either going to be if the Saints are playing on 2 Sundays in a row, I'm going to go for that because I want to when you make that effort and you spend that much money, you want to try and get
2 games.
Exactly. And the other one, which I think our boy, who we all know, Charlie Levy, has said, which I really like the idea of, is whether it be a Saints game at home and then New York, or New York and then a Saints game. So
we're on for New York because my wife loves New York and she said she'd be happy to go for like just to literally fly on the Friday and come home on the Sunday. So I'm like, I'll deal with that. I can do it. But it'll be a drunk flight home for me from JFK, but I can deal with it.
But so it is one of those things. But I mean, from my point of view, James, I really hope you get out there because I know obviously last year you were really looking forward to it. But obviously circumstances didn't allow that.
No, it's looking good for this year. It's just waiting for the fixtures and then deciding. I also want to try and tie it in with an LSU game as well because, like I said, I've been to one. Have either of you been to a college game?
No.
It's a very different.
Funnily enough, I'm going to a college game. I'm going to a college game in August.
Yeah, I thought about that one. About that one, but I just can't. I can't. Can't do it.
I bought the ticket, and now when I've looked at the hotels, I'm like, oh, maybe I won't go. They are so expensive.
Or just go to the game and don't stay over.
Yeah, but even so, the flights. I'm now thinking about flying into Belfast, getting a train down to Dublin, because literally the flights at the moment are looking as expensive as they are to get to New Orleans, which is
you might want to just consider getting the ferry from Liverpool, mate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Liverpool.
I've considered that, and I was thinking, how could I do that? Maybe if I got to Manchester to spend a night or so with my boys, and then get over to Liverpool. Maybe that's an option. So at the moment, I'm considering all options. I've got the ticket for the game, but Dublin's just taking the piss. Yeah. It really is taking the piss.
One week one day I definitely can't be in America for, and I think Mike, you're the same as me. Is October the 15th. I believe that's Chris Stapleton in Manchester.
Yeah. Oh, you got tickets for the same gig?
Yeah.
Of course you have. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. So we're in Manchester. Well, funnily enough, it was like, the I think they're arranged the Saints WhatsApp group, and this is the beautiful thing about the Saints WhatsApp group is that. So in the last 2 years, I've been to Birmingham, Edinburgh, London meetups. Obviously, there was meant to be one, Manchester. There was meant to be one in Liverpool, and I can't go to the Liverpool one because I know you're in Manchester for a gig on the 1st of June.
Yeah, I'm watching Tool.
I'm also. I didn't realise, but I'm also in Manchester watching a gig, so I can't go
on that same night.
On the same night, so we'll have a couple of beers maybe before you head off to your show.
Yeah, definitely.
Grab a couple. I'm going to see Teddy Swims. Anyone heard of him?
I've heard of Tool.
No, so we'll move on.
Not Teddy Swims.
All right, then we'll move on.
What night's that, Mike?
1st of June, Saturday the 1st of June.
Saturday, 1st of June. Yeah.
Oh no, it's not when I'm at home by Nick's going to Pink in Tottenham, and I'm looking after the deal.
Right, okay.
Luckily, just before the Euro starts.
Yeah. Which I am really looking forward to. Yet again, let's take a tangent on it. It's like if you forget about everything else. I know defensively there are areas where you think, maybe we should. Not sure. You think about our midfield three, which should be Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, and Phil Foden. That should be our midfield three. Yeah, I know he plays sort of slightly higher up for Man City, but that guy can play there. And you've got Bellingham and you've got Rice who can both play defensively and both play attack in an attacking sort of system. That's your midfield three.
So the defense is it's a little bit ropey, but we've got the best centre forward in Europe, and we've got the best player in Europe at the moment, probably in Jude Bellingham.
Yeah. And then you look at him you got that. You've got your midfield three. Yeah, again, slightly defensively, probably. And I'm not a huge critic of Southgate, but I think he's a little bit. He plays a little bit too much to his favourites at times. So I think defensively that's part of the problem. But also you've got Josh Stones, who's probably been easily in the top 3 centre backs this year in what he's been doing.
But not playing centre back though.
No, but playing at fucking centre forward at times, which is remarkable. I know. Yeah. But
it's
anyway,
good for the summer. It is looking good for the summer.
Yeah, it should be good. It should be good. But I think from that point of view, James, we have obviously, apart from me dipping out for 15 minutes because I'm old and I don't know how technology works. I really want to say I think we've kept you on far too long. It's like over 2 hours. So I'm just going to say I really want to say how grateful I am for you for coming on, mate. You've been a colossal friend to me in the time that I've known you, and that's literally, if I think about it, that's only been 6 years. And it's one of those things. It's like until you, from my point of view, when we met in Manchester a few weeks back, you sort of forget how much you get on and how much you've got in common. and how much you like each other. So I just want to say thank you very much for coming on to our pod, mate. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd
No,
echo
mate,
that.
pleasure is all mine. Like I said, I've been listening. Yeah, go on, Dan.
Go on, James. No, you go ahead. I'll finish this up. It's good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just saying, I've listened to every show you've done. I love what you do because it's unique. There's a lot of Saints podcasts out there, and they all kind of talk about the same things in their own different ways. You know, sort of, you got my podcast, you've got the Block Party, you've got Happy Hour, you've got Underhill's podcast. They all talk about what's going on with the Saints here and now. Whereas your guys, what you do is unique, where you talk to the people about why they're a Saints fan and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I just love listening to all the stories. You know, I listened to the one you did with Joey Plague a couple of days ago. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, guys. It's absolutely sensational.
Thank you, James. Thank you, mate.
Appreciate it, James. I was just going to say to everyone, like, if you don't listen already, please give Dome Patrol a listen. You can catch James at J_Lefty or at Dome Patrol UK or at Dome Patrol. Give those guys a listen. James, Jason, Jeff, Wes,
Wesley.
Guys, give them a listen. Wesley, all right, Wesley. And you never know if people like the shortened version or the longer version. Daniel, Michael.
He likes the
it's always one of those things, but
James,
Wesley,
Jamelia.
Jamelia. No, but honestly, I'll be honest. Stone Patrol was one of the first podcasts I listened to when I became a Saints fan, because at that time, it was only Stone Patrol and Happy Hour that were really putting out regular content.
They were.
So yeah, definitely if you're not listening, give them a listen. Live reaction podcasts from fans as well. You don't often get fans, especially what James is doing, staying up till 4 or 5 in the morning to give you a live reaction. The sleep impact probably makes it even more entertaining than anyone else's. But yeah, please give them a listen, give them a follow, especially if you're in the UK. Reach out to James if you want to be involved in that WhatsApp group that James has got. It's a great community for people to just interact with and grow your fandom and meet more people and just build on what. I don't want to say a small. It's actually a large number of us have been involved in the last 4, 5, 6 years and growing this fan base, because there are a lot of us and we get overlooked as a fan base in comparison to some of our peer fan bases. But there are, we're passionate and there's a lot of us, and James has been integral in getting the fan base where it is now, and long may that continue. So James, thank you so much for coming on. Really do appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing. Can't wait for the Saints to come over next time, and where we end up for the meetup. Maybe it's Goods Way or somewhere a little bit bigger where we have to hire the venue and we all chip in to make sure it happens. But I'm looking forward to that. It'll be good, and maybe hopefully next time there's a Manchester meetup, I can travel up with Mike. I couldn't make the last one, but we can have a beer together and enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, no,
thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no problems, mate. Loved your company, and thanks a lot, boys.
Yeah, cheers, James. Thanks, buddy.